Nepal government forms talks team to address demands of loan shark victims, approves measures for managing contract service employees. Nepal's Prime Minister vows backing for women-led businesses, entrepreneurs push for policy changes. Nepal boosts cross-border power trade, export earnings continue to climb. Deadly orphanage fire claims 11 lives in Algeria, authorities probe cause. Russia-Ukraine escalate Black Sea strikes, grain trade faces fresh disruption. And Argentina stuns England, sets up World Cup final against Spain. Good evening, I'm Smriti Singh Thamang and this is NTV World Primetime News. We're coming to you live from Kathmandu at 1900 hours Nepal time. Elsewhere, it's 13:15 in London, 22:15 in Tokyo and just after midnight in Sydney. Now the news in detail. Nepal's government has formed a high-level negotiation team to hold talks with those affected by usury lending, commonly known as loan sharking. The decision comes in a move aimed at addressing long-standing demands from the victims. The cabinet today decided to establish the talks committee under the coordination of Pushkar Sapkota, secretary at the office of the Prime Minister and Council of Ministers. Joint secretaries from the Ministries of Finance, Home Affairs, Land Management and Federal Affairs and General Administration will serve as members of the panel. Also, the government today approved measures for the management of employees currently serving under contractual service arrangements. In the same meeting, the cabinet authorized Nepal Rashtra Bank to mint newly designed 1 rupee and 2 rupees coins. The government also approved a grant of $1.81 million from the South Korean government to support the establishment of the Nepal Law Information Pilot System, a project intended to strengthen legal information management. Another decision allows the concerned ministry to approve the removal of additional trees and utility poles within protected national forest areas, provided all existing legal procedures are followed. The cabinet further endorsed organizational structures and staffing positions for various ministries and approved the First Amendment Ordinance 2083 relating to the Policy Research Institute Development Committee. Meanwhile, Nepal's usury victims have sent a 6-member negotiation team to Kathmandu in an effort to reach a final agreement with the government. The team, formed by the loan shark victims' farmers' labour movement, is led by its central chairman Avadesh Kushwaha. Other members include senior representatives of the movement and allied rights groups. The delegation, which started its march from Janakpur, reached Bara 2 days ago. After holding 4 rounds of talks with the government in Nijgarh under the leadership of Home Minister Sudan Gurung, the protesters have now resumed their march towards Kathmandu. However, negotiations remain unresolved over the protesters' demand for a written agreement on their 6-point agenda, including legal action against illegal lenders and protection of victims' rights. Other victims gathered in Nijgarh are waiting for the outcome of the talks. Protesters have warned that their march for justice will continue unless a formal agreement is signed and implemented. Nepal's Prime Minister Balendra Shah has pledged government support to promote women entrepreneurship and strengthen women-led businesses. In a meeting with the Federation of Women Entrepreneurs Associations of Nepal, Prime Minister Shah said the government would work to address challenges faced by women entrepreneurs and create opportunities to promote their products. Women business leaders called for better market access, support for trade fairs, and reforms to make the business environment more favorable. They also urged the government to prioritize women entrepreneurs in public procurement and include them in policy-making processes. The meeting also discussed financial access, skills development, digital entrepreneurship, and sustainable growth of women-led enterprises. Political parties have begun fresh negotiations to form provincial governments after the Nepali Congress CPN-UML understanding collapsed, putting governments in all 7 provinces under uncertainty. With no party holding an outright majority in any province, new coalition equations are now essential, as the constitution requires the support of more than 50% of the total provincial assembly members to form a government. A report.
As differences between Nepali Congress and the CPN-UML widen, governments in all 7 provinces have come under threat. Among the 7 provinces, governments in 6 provinces were formed solely through Nepali Congress CPN-UML alliance. In Madhes province, besides the 2 major parties, Nepal Communist Party and the Tarai Madhes Lokatantrik Party were also coalition partners. However, after the parties failed to continue their previous agreement, a new political course has begun for government formation in all 7 provinces. Of the 7 provinces, Nepali Congress is the largest party in 6, while the CPN-UML is the largest party only in Koshi province. During the Congress-UML alliance, they enjoyed a comfortable majority. If either of the 2 major parties remains outside the government, most provinces will require the support of almost all the parties represented in the provincial assembly to form a government. According to the constitution, the support of a majority at least more than 50% of the members is required to form a government. Legal experts say that this refers not to the number of members currently in office, but to the total number of members prescribed by law. Even if some provincial assembly members resign during elections to the House of Representatives, the number required to form a government remains more than 50% of the total membership. Although only the currently existing members are counted during the government formation process, the overall basis remains the total number of seats. Accordingly, in Kosi province, a government requires 47 seats out of the total 93. CPN-UML alone has 40 seats and therefore needs 7 more seats. In Gandaki province, a government requires 31 seats out of the total 60. Nepali Congress has 27 seats, while the CPN-UML has 21 seats. A minimum of 31 seats is needed to form the government. In such a situation, if Nepal Communist Party along with some other fringe parties represented in the provincial assembly can be brought together, the door will open for the formation of a majority government. Similarly, Lumbini province requires 44 out of 87 seats, Madhes province 54 out of 107, Karnali province 21 out of 40, and Sudur Paschim 27 out of 53. This shows that no single party has an outright majority in any province. Therefore, based on seat distribution, 2 or more parties must come together to form governments. At the time after the ruling, Nepali Congress and the CPN-UML reached an agreement. Coalition governments of the 2 parties were formed in all 7 provinces. In Sudur Paschim province, however, the process of breaking the ruling alliance began after the ruling partners, Nepali Congress and the CPN-UML, failed to reach an agreement on passing the budget. Chief Minister Kamal Bahadur Shah of the Nepali Congress dismissed 4 ministers from the CPN-UML, accusing them of obstructing the passage of the budget. In response, the CPN-UML also withdrew its support for the government. Following the withdrawal of support, the central leadership of the Nepali Congress has also stated that fresh negotiations will be initiated to seek a new agreement for forming provincial governments. Sabika Shrestha, NTV World.
We're going for a short break here. More news coming up. Do stay with us. Welcome back. You're watching NTV World Primetime News. Now the remaining updates. Once viewed primarily as an untapped natural resource, Nepal's hydropower is becoming one of the country's most valuable economic assets. Growing electricity export is generating billions in revenue while reshaping Nepal's role in the South Asian energy market. Sarah Sapsanamarai brings this to you.
On July 15, Nepal expanded its electricity exports once again, signing an agreement to send an additional 550 megawatts of power to India, increasing total cross-border export capacity to 1,650 megawatts. The milestone comes just a few years after Nepal began commercial power exports to India in 2021, highlighting the country's rapid emergence as a regional clean energy supplier. Electricity exports grew from 2,339 gigawatt-hours in fiscal year 2021-22 to a record 3,752 gigawatt-hour in the fiscal year 2023-24. Although exports declined to 1,933 gigawatt-hour in the fiscal year 2024-25, largely reflecting the seasonal nature of Nepal's run-of-river hydropower system, they rebounded to 2,380 gigawatt-hour the following year, generating 17.47 billion rupees in export revenue. Beyond India, Nepal has also entered the Bangladeshi market. Under a landmark trilateral power trade agreement signed in 2024, Nepal now exports 40 megawatts of electricity to Bangladesh through India's transmission network, marking one of South Asia's most significant examples of regional energy cooperation. Today, Nepal is a seasonal net exporter of electricity. During monsoon, when river flows are at their highest, the country exports around 600 to 650 megawatts of electricity each day to India and Bangladesh combined. After earning 17.47 billion rupees from power exports in the fiscal year 2024-25, Nepal reported 18.26 billion rupees in just the first 5 months of the fiscal year 2025-26, placing it on course to surpass the previous year's record.
Nepal has joined other BIMSTEC member states in reaffirming their commitment to stronger regional security cooperation at the 5th BIMSTEC National Security Chiefs meeting in New Delhi, India. The meeting, hosted by India's National Security Advisor Ajit Doval, brought together security chiefs and senior officials from Bangladesh, Bhutan, Myanmar, Nepal, Sri Lanka and Thailand. Delegates reviewed progress on regional cooperation in security, disaster management, connectivity and technology while discussing ways to combat terrorism and organized crime, strengthen cyber and maritime security and improve disaster preparedness. The meeting also adopted new guidelines for maritime humanitarian assistance and disaster relief, along with principles for maritime law enforcement cooperation. As BIMSTEC approaches its 30th anniversary next year, member states, including Nepal, pledged to deepen collaboration and strengthen regional capacity to address evolving security challenges. Israel has selected 836 Nepali workers in the first round of recruitment for caregiving jobs under a bilateral labor agreement. The selection was conducted through a live lottery by Israel's Population and Immigration Authority, with officials from both Nepal and Israel, as well as media representatives, observing the process to ensure transparency. A total of 1,115 applicants took part in the draw, including 784 men and 331 women. 75% of candidates from each category were selected. Israel's ambassador to Nepal, Shmulek Ribas, says more than 2,100 additional caregiving jobs are expected to open soon. The selected candidates will now undergo medical examinations and criminal background checks. Those who qualify are expected to begin traveling to Israel in batches from around 2 months' time, with wages and employment conditions guaranteed under Israeli labor law. Hundreds of families in western Nepal are facing a growing drinking water crisis as prolonged dry conditions leave natural water sources running dry. In B village of Mugu district, Soru rural municipality, around 400 households are struggling to access safe drinking water. Residents say they have been queuing at a single public tap from 2 a.m. each day as water supplies continue to shrink. Local officials say most natural springs have dried up and there are no alternative sources. A large drinking water project launched 4 years ago remains incomplete, leaving the community without a reliable supply. The shortage is also affecting sanitation, livestock and farming. Residents say cattle have begun dying due to the lack of water, while winter crops are withering in the prolonged drought. Now, Nepal's notorious wild elephant Dhruve has been brought under control after a 10-day tracking operation and fitted with an advanced satellite radio collar in Chitwan National Park, CNP. According to Chief Conservation Officer Dil Bahadur Purja Pun, the elephant was safely tranquilized at around 10 p.m. on Wednesday near the Sukibar post, allowing wildlife experts to attach the tracking device. The operation involved the Nepal Army, National Park officials and a specialized wildlife management team. Dhruve had been out of surveillance since July 6. With the new satellite collar, park authorities will now be able to monitor the elephant's movements in real time, issue early warnings to nearby communities and strengthen efforts to reduce human-elephant conflict. Dhruve has been linked to the deaths of 25 people, making it one of Nepal's most dangerous wild elephants. Officials darted and radio-collared notorious wild elephant Dhruve in Chitwan National Park on July 15, 2026 at 10 p.m. Real-time satellite tracking will help monitor movements, minimize human-elephant conflict and alert residents near Sukibar. Time again for a short breather. We shall be back with international updates. And now the international updates. At least 11 people, including children, have been killed and 19 others injured after a fire broke out at an orphanage near Algeria's capital, Algiers. The blaze erupted early Thursday at a children's care facility in the Mohammedia district, where residents and emergency crews rushed to the scene as smoke and flames engulfed parts of the building. Civil protection authorities said 10 of the injured suffered burns of varying severity, while 5 people with disabilities were evacuated to safety. Officials have not provided details about the victims' ages or confirmed the cause of the fire. Algerian authorities have expressed condolences to the families affected by the tragedy. The incident comes as Algeria experiences a heat wave, with emergency services battling hundreds of fires reported across the country in recent days. Russia and Ukraine have intensified attacks in the Black Sea and the Sea of Azov, targeting vessels and military possessions in a region crucial for global grain supplies. Ukraine's military said it struck Russian tankers and tugboats, while Moscow reported attacks on Ukrainian maritime targets and other military and industrial sites. The escalation has raised concerns over shipping routes and grain exports, with restrictions reported in parts of the Sea of Azov. The disruption has contributed to rising global wheat prices. Russia has also increased strikes on Ukrainian ports in the Odessa region, which are vital for grain shipments and the country's wartime economy. Ukrainian officials said Russian missile strikes on Kiev also caused casualties and fires, adding to the latest wave of attacks between the two sides. Ukraine's parliament has approved energy executive Sergei Koretsky as the country's new prime minister, the third since Russia's full-scale invasion began in 2022. Koretsky, the former head of state energy company Naftogaz, received parliamentary approval after lawmakers praised his management experience. Addressing parliament, he said strengthening defense, maintaining economic stability and advancing European Union integration would be his key priorities. The appointment follows the resignation of former Prime Minister Yulia Sviridenko. Meanwhile, protests have erupted in several Ukrainian cities following President Volodymyr Zelensky's dismissal of Defense Minister Mikhailo Fedorov. The decision has drawn criticism from some military and civil society groups. Tensions between the United States and Iran have intensified, with both sides carrying out fresh attacks as renewed hostilities enter a sixth day. Iran said it targeted U.S. military bases in neighboring Gulf countries, including locations in Jordan, Kuwait and Bahrain. The U.S. military said it launched a new wave of strikes across Iran, targeting command centers, air defense systems and coastal surveillance facilities. The exchanges followed warnings from Washington for Tehran to return to negotiations, while Iranian officials said they would not accept agreements that do not serve the country's interests. The escalating conflict has also affected the Strait of Hormuz, a key global energy route which remains closed amid the rising tensions. Iran has warned that the Strait of Hormuz remains a red line as tensions with the United States continue to escalate. Tehran said any U.S. attack on Iranian infrastructure would be met with strikes on infrastructure across the Gulf region. The warning comes after the United States launched another wave of attacks and imposed restrictions on Iranian ports, saying the move aims to reopen the strategic waterway. Iranian officials say the Strait of Hormuz, a key route for global oil and gas shipments, remains under their control and can only reopen through agreed terms between the two sides. The rising tensions have raised concerns over energy supplies and security in one of the world's most important maritime routes. More international news and sports update coming up next. For now, a short breather. Sri Lanka has completed the underground breakthrough of South Asia's longest irrigation tunnel, marking a major step in the country's water infrastructure development. The 27.7-kilometer tunnel is a key part of the North Central Province Canal project under the Mahaweli Master Plan. Two tunnel boring machines working from opposite directions successfully connected beneath the North Central Province, completing the excavation. The tunnel will become part of a 240-kilometer canal network aimed at improving water distribution in Sri Lanka's dry zone. Once operational, the project is expected to provide water to more than 1,500 reservoirs, support thousands of farming families, and improve access to drinking water for nearly 1.5 million people. More than 500 Rohingya refugees are feared dead after two boats reportedly capsized off the coast of Myanmar, according to United Nations agencies. The International Organization for Migration and the UN Refugee Agency said the vessels left Myanmar's Rakhine state in late June, carrying mostly Rohingya refugees, including people from camps in neighboring Bangladesh. One boat carrying around 250 people lost contact soon after departure, while another vessel with about 280 passengers is believed to have sunk off Myanmar's Irrawaddy coast. Rohingya refugees have long taken dangerous sea routes to seek safety and better opportunities in Southeast Asian countries, fleeing conflict and persecution. The United Nations says hundreds of Rohingya died or went missing on the Andaman Sea and Bay of Bengal route last year, making it one of the world's deadliest migration paths. Toronto has recorded the world's worst air quality among major cities as wildfire. Recognized as an important intangible folk cultural property of Japan and listed as UNESCO Intangible Cultural Heritage, the festival attracts nearly 2 million visitors every year. Investment in space startups has reached near record levels, driven by growing investor confidence in the commercial space industry. A new report by Seraphim Space shows space companies raised around $7.5 billion through 141 venture funding deals in the second quarter. The surge follows increased market attention after SpaceX's reported major public offering, which expanded interest beyond traditional space investors. Investors are increasingly focusing on companies linked to defense, national security, and in space computing, as governments and commercial firms are expected to increase spending in these sectors. The industry is also watching potential major fundraising moves, including a reported plan by Blue Origin to raise around $10 billion, which could become one of the largest private investments in the space sector. Time now for Sports Update. The FIFA World Cup 2026 final lineup is complete, with defending champions Argentina set to face Spain for the title. Argentina reached a second consecutive World Cup final after a dramatic 2-1 comeback victory over England in the second semi-final at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. England took the lead through Anthony Gordon in the 55th minute, but Argentina fought back late in the match. Enzo Fernandez equalized with a long-range strike before Lautaro Martinez scored the winner in stoppage time. Captain Lionel Messi played a decisive role, providing assists for both goals and earning Player of the Match honours. Argentina will meet Spain in the final on Monday, with kickoff scheduled for 12:45 a.m. Nepal time. Spain booked their place after defeating France 2-0 in the first semi-final. The final will mark the first World Cup meeting between Spain and Argentina since their only previous encounter in 1966. And before we wind up, here are the reminder of the top stories. Nepal government forms talks team to address demands of loan shark victims, approves measures for managing contract service employees. Nepal's Prime Minister vows backing for women-led businesses, entrepreneurs push for policy changes. Nepal boosts cross-border power trade, export earnings continue to climb. Deadly orphanage fire claims 11 lives in Algeria. Authorities probe cause. Russia-Ukraine escalate Black Sea strikes. Grain trade faces fresh disruption. And Argentina stuns England, sets up World Cup final against Spain. And that's it for this edition of Primetime News. Our next bulletin will be at 2200 hours Nepal time. Do join us to our social media and get the latest updates from our official website, nepaltelevision.com. Thank you for staying with us. Have a wonderful evening ahead.
जानकी मन्दिर महर्षि जनकको पुण्यभूमि, माता जानकीको पवित्र जन्मस्थल। देश विदेशमा परिचित जनकपुर धाम मध्य प्रदेशको मात्र नभई अन्तर्राष्ट्रिय स्तरमै प्रख्यात पवित्र भूमि। सबैको पूजनीय ठाउँ जनकपुर धाम। महेन्द्र राजमार्गको ढल्केबरबाट करिब 21 किलोमिटर दक्षिण लागेपछि शहीद गेट हुँदै रामानन्द चोक पुग्न सकिन्छ। जनकपुरको ठूलो प्रवेशद्वार रामानन्द प्रवेशद्वार। 4वटा ठूलो पिलरमा बनाइएको रामानन्द प्रवेशद्वारको माथि स्वामी रामानन्दको प्रतिमा छ। यो प्रवेशद्वारलाई जनकपुरवासीले जनकपुरको गौरव समेत मान्ने गरेका छन्। रामानन्द चोकबाट करिब 1 किलोमिटर पूर्व गएपछि मिथिलाञ्चलवासीको सांस्कृतिक धरोहर जानकी मन्दिर पुग्न सकिन्छ। मध्य प्रदेशको राजधानी जनकपुरमा अवस्थित यो मन्दिर नेपालमा भएका मन्दिरहरूमध्ये क्षेत्रफलका आधारमा सबैभन्दा ठूलो मन्दिर हो। मन्दिर निर्माणको 125 वर्ष जति मात्र भए पनि यसमा स्थापित राम जानकीको प्रतिमा भने झण्डै 700 वर्ष पुरानो भएको संस्कृतिविदहरूको भनाइ छ।
20औं शताब्दीको प्रारम्भमा भनौं त्यति बेला एकजना मध्य प्रदेशकै ओर्छा स्टेट छ, त्यहाँ त्यसको राजधानी टिकमगढ छ। त्यहाँ कि रानीले आएर अहिलेको जानकी मन्दिरको जुन ढाँचा अहिले देखिएको छ, जो देशमा सबैभन्दा ठुलो ढाँचा मन्दिरको रूपमा एउटा छ, त्यो राजस्थानी शैली र मुगल शैली दुईटीको मिश्रित रूपमा यहाँ बनाइदिएको हो त्यो मन्दिर। त्यसपछि यहाँ विकास भएको हो।
विक्रम सम्वत 1968 सालमा निर्माण सम्पन्न भएको यो मन्दिर धार्मिक र सांस्कृतिक हिसाबले सम्पन्न मैथिली सभ्यताको धरोहर हो। पवित्र हिन्दू धर्मस्थलको रूपमा चिनिने जानकी मन्दिर मुगल शैलीमा निर्माण गरिएको छ। पाँच 500 वर्ष पुरानो इतिहास बोकेको यो मन्दिर 4860 वर्ग फिटमा फैलिएको छ भने 50 फिट अग्लो रहेको छ। नेपालको ख्याति प्राप्त यो मन्दिरलाई कलाको उत्कृष्ट नमुना मान्न सकिन्छ। प्राचीन मिथिलाको राजधानी जनकपुरमा अवस्थित जानकी मन्दिर विश्वभरका हिन्दूहरूको आस्थाको केन्द्रबिन्दु हो। यो मन्दिर भारत मध्य प्रदेश स्थित टिकमगढकी राजकुमारी वृषभानुकुमारीले 9 लाख चाँदीका असर्फी खर्च गरेर निर्माण गरिएको हो भन्ने किम्वदन्ती छ। त्यसैले यो मन्दिरलाई 9 लाखा मन्दिर पनि भन्ने गरिन्छ।
खर्चमा 9 लाख रुपियाँ खर्च भएको त्यति बेलाको शासनमा 1910 तिरको 9 लाख भन्दाखेरि त अहिले त अर्बौं खर्बौंमा जान्छ। अनि त्यो खर्च भएको हुनाले यसलाई 9 लाख भनिएको हो कि भन्ने बुझिन्छ।
प्राचीन मिथिला हिन्दू तथा मुस्लिम कलाको समुचित समायोजनबाट निर्मित जानकी मन्दिर कलाकृतिले समेत भरिपूर्ण ठाउँ हो। सीताको जन्मभूमि र राम सीताको विवाह भएको पुण्यभूमि भएकाले पनि यो ठाउँ सबैको आस्थाको केन्द्र बनेको छ।
सीतामढ़ी से हम लोग जनकपुर धाम पर आए हैं। माँ जानकी का यह पालन स्थल है। जन्म स्थल पुनौरा भूमि हुआ। वहाँ से राजा जनक जी पुनौरा धाम से माँ जानकी को यहाँ अपने दरबार में अपना यहाँ उनका साम्राज्य था। उस साम्राज्य में अपना यहाँ उनका लालन पालन हुआ है और काफ़ी धार्मिक आस्था है। जगत जननी माँ सीता का यह लालन पालन का स्थल है और हम लोग इसी आस्था से माँ जानकी के आशीर्वाद लेने हेतु यहाँ पर पहुँचे हुए।
धार्मिक तथा सांस्कृतिक रूपमा सम्पन्न यो मन्दिर मिथिलाञ्चलवासीको सांस्कृतिक धरोहरको रूपमा रहेको छ। मैथिली सभ्यताको प्रतीकको रूपमा रहेको यो मन्दिरमा श्रद्धा एवं निष्ठापूर्वक पूजाआजा गरे मनको शान्ति मिल्नुका साथै मनोकामना पूरा हुने जनविश्वास छ।
यहाँ पे हम जानते हैं कि सीता माता का जन्म स्थान है यहाँ पे, तो हम यहाँ हम राम और कृष्णा दोनों एक मानते हैं। तो हम राम जी के बारे में और जानकी के बारे में ज़्यादा जानना चाहते हैं, जानकी माता के बारे में, इसीलिए यहाँ है, उनका जन्म स्थान देखना चाहते हैं।
यहाँ आएपछि त भित्री आत्मादेखि असाध्य खुसी लाग्छ क्या। जति जे हाम्रो मनभित्र हुन्छ नि, बाहिर कतै हुँदाखेरि हामीभित्र जुन मनमा चलिरहेको हुन्छ नि, यहाँ आएपछि त बेग्लै महसुस भइरहेको हुन्छ क्या। त्यस्तो हुन्छ।
ऐतिहासिक, धार्मिक तथा पर्यटकीय क्षेत्रको रूपमा रहेको यो मन्दिरभित्र पर्यटकलाई लोभ्याउने कलाकृति र सौन्दर्यताकै कारण यहाँ देश विदेशबाट हजारौंको संख्यामा दर्शनार्थीहरूको भीड लाग्ने गर्दछ। यहाँको कला कौशलताले सजी सजाऊ मन्दिरसँगै वरिपरि रहेको हरियाली वातावरणले पर्यटकहरूलाई थप आकर्षित गर्नुका साथै ऊर्जा समेत प्रदान गर्ने गर्दछ।
बहुत दिनों की इच्छा थी कि मैं माता के स्थान पे आऊं, है ना, और आने का मुझे सौभाग्य हुआ और मुझे बहुत ही दिल से खुशी हो रही है कि मुझे इनका दर्शन हुआ। और जिस तरह से यहाँ पे संरक्षण किया गया है, इससे मुझे बहुत ही संतुष्टि हो रही है और सभी का बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। और मैं भगवान का आभार प्रकट करती हूँ कि मुझे दर्शन का सौभाग्य मिला।
जानकी मन्दिर छेउमा रहेको भगवान सीतारामको विवाह मण्डप स्थल, जानकी मन्दिरको उत्तरतर्फ रहेको राम जानकी विवाह मण्डप जनकपुर धामको अर्को धार्मिक एवं दर्शनीय स्थल हो। श्री राम जानकी विवाह मण्डपको चारैतिर पारदर्शी सीसा लगाइएकाले वरिपरि रहेका सम्पूर्ण देवताहरूको दर्शन बाहिरबाटै गर्न सकिन्छ। सीतारामका भव्य मूर्तिहरू मध्यभागमा देवीका मूर्तिहरू राखिएका छन्। गर्भ मण्डपभित्र कलात्मक स्तम्भहरू छन्। यी स्तम्भहरूमा विभिन्न देवी देवताहरूका चार वटाका दरले मूर्तिहरू जोडेर राखिएका छन्। मण्डपको माथि शिरमा रहेको गजुरले यसको रौनकतालाई अझै बढाएको छ। यहाँ विवाह पञ्चमीमा भारत अयोध्याबाट लाखौं मानिसहरू जन्ती बनेर आउने गर्दछन्। जानकी मन्दिर, राम मन्दिर लगायतका मठ मन्दिरहरूबाट बाजागाजा सहित निस्किने झाँकी नगरको विभिन्न भागको परिक्रमा गर्दै ऐतिहासिक रङ्गभूमि 12 बिघा मैदानमा पुगी राम र जानकीको स्वयंवर हुने गर्दछ। विवाह पञ्चमीको अवसरमा जानकी मन्दिर, राम मन्दिर, जनक मन्दिर, विवाह मण्डप, शिव मन्दिर लगायतका मठ मन्दिरहरूमा बिहानैदेखि साधु सन्त, भक्तजन र दर्शनार्थीहरूको घुइँचो लाग्ने गर्दछ। विवाह पञ्चमी मेला भर्न नेपालका विभिन्न स्थानका साथै भारतबाट समेत भक्तजनहरू जनकपुर धाम आउने गर्दछन्।
विवाह पञ्चमी यहाँको सबभन्दा ठुलो महत्त्वपूर्ण पर्व हो। उसमा चाहिँ बढी भिड हुन्छ, सबैतिरबाट मान्छे आउँछ, अयोध्याबाट जयन्ती आउँछ, लोकल मान्छेको पनि भिड हुन्छ। विवाह पञ्चमी ठुलो मेला हुन्छ यहाँको। हुन त सबै महिनामा छ, अब यो साउनमा यो असारको पूर्णिमा गुरु पूजा हुन्छ, उसमा पनि लाग्छ। श्रावणमा झुला हुन्छ नि, हरियाली तीज भन्छ, झुल्ने प्रक्रिया छ, त्यो पनि हुन्छ। भदौमा चाहिँ जन्माष्टमी हुन्छ, यस्तै आश्विनमा दुर्गा पूजा, कार्तिकमा अन्नकुट दिवालीहरू हुन्छ। अनि फेरि मङ्सिरमा बिहा पञ्चमी हुन्छ, यसो फाल्गुनमा परिक्रमा हुन्छ 15 दिनको, चैतमा रामनवमी हुन्छ, वैशाखमा जानकी नवमी हुन्छ। सबै महिनामा केही न केही पर्व भइरहन्छ।
जनकपुर धामको पौराणिकतालाई दर्शाउने मणि मण्डप भगवान राम र माता सीताको विवाह भएको स्थलको रूपमा ख्याति प्राप्त मणि मण्डप पुरातात्विक दृष्टिले अति नै प्राचीन मानिन्छ। यो मण्डपले मिथिला सभ्यताको प्राचीनतालाई समेत दर्शाउँदछ।
यो तपाईको त्रेता युगमा जुन समयमा भगवान रामको बिहे भएको थियो नि, त्यो बेलाको यो मण्डप हो। या यो भूमि छ नि, जुन माटो छ नि, हाम्रो पूर्वजले यो माटोलाई नै पूजा गरेको थियो पहिला। अहिले तपाईको त्यो बाँसको झोपडी बनाएर पूजा गर्दै आइरहेको थियो। त्यसपछि यो तपाईको 2007 मा इन्डियाको डेटमा जयपुरको आन्छ यो बना।
जनकपुरबाट करिब 17 किलोमिटर उत्तरमा धनुषा धाम रहेको छ। राजा जनकले आफ्नी छोरी सीताका लागि आयोजना गरेको स्वयंवरमा भगवान रामले तोडेको शिवजीको धनुषको 3 टुक्रा मध्ये 1 टुक्रा यही झरेको थियो भन्ने मान्यता छ। यही स्थानमा अहिले धनुष मन्दिर समेत रहेको छ। जानकी मन्दिर दर्शन गर्ने जो कोही धनुषा धाम पुग्ने गर्दछन्। जानकी मन्दिर पुग्ने भक्तजनहरूले धनुषा धामको दर्शन नगरे दर्शन पूरा नहुने महन्तहरू बताउनुहुन्छ।
सीता र रामजीको बीचमा एउटा जुन वैवाहिक बन्धन भएछ, त्यसको प्रतीक रूपमा त्यो धनुष हो। त्यो स्वयं भगवानको हातबाट भाँचिएको र स्वयं परशुराम पनि एउटा भगवानको अवतारले चाहिँ त्यो धनुष, शिवजीको धनुष जनकले दिएको हुनाले त्यसको महात्म्य हेर्ने हो भने रामेश्वरम चाहिँ पछि स्थापना गर्नुभएछ भगवान रामले। त्यो धनुष चाहिँ आफ्नो हातबाट त्योभन्दा पहिला स्थापना गर्नुभएको हुनाले त्यो पनि एउटा दर्शनको ठुलो महत्त्वपूर्ण स्थान हो धनुषा धाम। र त्यो राम र सीताको बीचको एउटा प्रतीक रूपमा त्यो धनुष मानिन्छ। र जनकपुर आउने दर्शनार्थीलाई यदि धनुषको दर्शन भएन भने पूर्ण दर्शन हुँदैन, अधुरो दर्शन हुन्छ।
त्रेताकालीन इतिहास बोकेको जनकपुरको धनुष सागर, 3 टुक्रा भएको शिवजीको धनुष मध्ये 1 टुक्रा पातालमा गएको थियो भन्ने किम्वदन्ती अनुसार सोही स्थानमा पोखरीको आकार लिएको मान्यता छ। आज सोही स्थानलाई धनुष सागरको नामले चिन्ने गरिन्छ। जानकी मन्दिरको छेवैमा रहेको राम मन्दिर, जानकी मन्दिर पुग्ने जो कोही राम मन्दिर पुग्ने गर्दछन्। जानकी मन्दिरको निर्माणभन्दा पहिले नै निर्मित यो मन्दिरको निर्माण प्यागोडा शैलीमा गरिएको छ। राम मन्दिरलाई झट्ट हेर्दा पशुपतिनाथ मन्दिरको झल्को आउँछ। राम मन्दिरमा पञ्चायन मूर्ति, लक्ष्मीनारायण, विष्णु अवतारको मूर्ति, अन्य देवी देवताको नित्य पूजा अर्चना गर्ने गर्दछ। मन्दिरमा रहेका ती मूर्तिहरू चतुर्भुज गिरीले फेला पारेका थिए। तिनै सन्तले पछि मन्दिरमै रहेको बरको रुखमुनि मूर्तिहरू राखेर पूजा सुरु गरेका थिए भन्ने भनाइ छ।
यहाँ सुरकिशोर दास आएका थिए, उनकै समकालीन एउटा अर्को सन्यासी चतुर्भुज गिरी पनि आएका थिए भनिन्छ। उनी जोशी मठका उनी त्यहाँका सन्यासी थिए, शङ्कराचार्यका शिष्य थिए उनी। अनि उनी पनि मिथिला खोज्दै जनकपुर आएका थिए। यहाँ बस्दाखेरि एउटा भनाइ के छ भने उनी यहाँ आउँदाखेरि अहिले जहाँ राम मन्दिर छ त्यो राम मन्दिरकै ठाउँमा एउटा रुखमुनि बसेका थिए। उनीलाई स्वप्न भयो अरे, त्यो भनाइ छ एउटा किंवदन्ती जस्तो। उनले त्यहाँ खन्दाखेरि त्यहाँबाट मूर्तिहरू फेला पारे, लक्ष्मीनारायणका मूर्तिहरू अहिले पनि त्यहाँ लक्ष्मीनारायणका मूर्तिहरू त्यहाँ छ त्यहाँ, र अहिले राम मन्दिरका भएका मूर्तिहरू पनि छन्। तुलना गर्न त्यसपछि त्यहाँ एउटा मठ उनले पनि बनाएका थिए, त्यहाँ सुरुमा ऊ थियो भनिन्छ। अहिले जुन देखिन्छ नि त्यो ऐतिहासिक तथ्यहरूले के भन्छन् भने यो चौथो ढाँचा हो जो अहिले देखिएको हो। त्यहाँ सुरुमा एउटा मठ जस्तो रह्यो होला, पछि त्यसलाई मकवानी राजाहरूले पनि ढाँचा त्यहाँ खडा गरिदिए त्यहाँ मन्दिरहरू। त्यो तुलना गर्न भनेपछि जानकी मन्दिर अलि भारतीय उसँग बढी नजिक देखिन्थ्यो भनेपछि राम मन्दिरका जुन सन्यासीहरू त्यहाँ अहिले पनि त्यहाँ गिरी नै हुन्छ। त्यहाँ दुईटा फरक के छ भने यो जानकी मन्दिर वैष्णवी मठ हो, रामानन्दीहरूको मठ हो, अनि त्यो सन्यासीहरूको मठ हो।
जनकपुर धामका पुराना मन्दिरहरूमध्ये लक्ष्मण मन्दिर पनि एउटा हो। यो मन्दिर जानकी मन्दिर अगाडिको विशाल प्राङ्गणको उत्तर पूर्वमा पर्दछ। यस मन्दिरमा मुख्य रूपमा भगवान सीताराम, लक्ष्मण र लवकुशका धातुका मूर्तिहरू राखेर पूजा आजा गरिन्छ। राजा जनककै नामले प्रख्यात नगरी जनकपुर धाममा रहेको जनक मन्दिर प्राचीनताको अर्को नमुना हो। यो मन्दिर धनुष सागरको उत्तर पश्चिम डिलमा अवस्थित छ। गंगा सागरको डिलमा शिव मन्दिर रहेको छ। शिवरात्रि लगायतका पर्वहरूमा मन्दिरमा ठूलै संख्यामा दर्शनार्थीहरूको घुइँचो लाग्ने गर्दछ। गंगा सागरको उत्तर पश्चिम तथा शिवचोकमा रहेको यो मन्दिरको निर्माण 2038 सालमा गरिएको हो। यो मन्दिरको निर्माण भने शिखर शैलीमा गरिएको छ। जानकी मन्दिरमा बिहान 7 बजे र बेलुका 8 बजे आरती हुने गर्दछ। संगीतमय यो आरती हेर्नका लागि श्रद्धालुहरूको भीड नै लाग्ने गर्दछ। बिहानको पूजापाठ होस् वा दिउँसोको रामायण पाठ अथवा भजन कीर्तनदेखि साँझको आरतीसम्म यहाँ भक्तजनहरूको भीड लाग्ने गर्दछ। यसले जानकी मन्दिर प्रतिको आस्था र विश्वासलाई समेत झल्काउने गर्दछ।
आस्था ठुलो छ यो क्षेत्रमा। जनकपुरको विकासको क्रममा हेर्यो भने यो दुईटा मन्दिर सम्भवतः नभएको भए जनकपुर मेटिन्थ्यो अथवा स्थापित हुने थिएन। किनभने धेरै प्राचीन पश्चिमी विद्वानहरू जसले अनुसन्धान गरेका छ जनकपुरको बारेमा, उनीहरू पनि भनाइ के छ भने जनकपुर धेरैचोटि बसिसकेका छ, धेरैचोटि उजाड भइसकेका छ, यसको इतिहास त्यही भन्छ। तर यो दुईवटा मन्दिरले गर्दाखेरि यहाँ के भयो भने विभिन्न कुटीहरूको स्थापना पनि भयो, जाति कुटीहरूको स्थापना भयो। विभिन्न जातले आफ्नो आफ्नो कुटीहरूको स्थापना गरे, गाउँ घरमा बसेका थियो, तर कुटीको स्थापना जनकपुरमा गरे, किनभने जनकपुरमा आएर पुण्य कमाउनु छ।
दिउँसो 12 बजेदेखि 4 बजेसम्म भने गर्भगृहको ढोका बन्द रहन्छ। गर्भगृह पछाडि सांस्कृतिक संग्रहालय रहेको छ। यो संग्रहालयले यहाँ आउने जो कोहीको मन लोभ्याउने गर्दछ। यो संग्रहालयले हलेश्वरी महायज्ञ भएर सीता फेला परेदेखि सीतारामको विवाह भएसम्मको झझल्को दिलाउने गर्दछ। जानकी मन्दिरमा हुने महन्तको कुनै पनि व्यक्तिगत व्यवहार, कुल, परिवार नहुने यो वैष्णव धर्मको परम्पराले सञ्चालन भइरहेको छ। वैराग्य परम्पराले चल्ने यो मन्दिरको हालको पुजारी महन्त राम तपेश्वर दास हुनुहुन्छ।
महन्तको 2, 4, 10, 20टा चेला हुन्छ। त्यो चेला मध्ये चाहिँ यहाँको नगर समाज, यहाँको महन्तजी होइन, जसलाई लायक सम्झिन्छ उसलाई चाहिँ बनाउँछ। मरेपछि उसलाई दाह क्रिया गर्छ। त्यसपछि यहाँको समाज उसैलाई महन्त बनाइदिन्छ अनि गुठ स्थान उसैलाई समर्थन दिइदिन्छ। यही परम्परा छ अहिलेसम्म।
छोटगुठीको रूपमा रहेको यो ऐतिहासिक मन्दिर भेटीबाट सञ्चालन हुने गर्दछ। छोटगुठी भएकै कारणले 3 तहकै सरकारसँगैका कुनै पनि गुठी संस्थानले यसमा लगानी गरेको छैन। 12 महिनामा 12वटा पर्व, विवाह पञ्चमी, सार्वजनिक विवाह हुनुका साथै जानकी मन्दिरको हाताभित्र दैनिक जसो अखण्ड रामायण पाठ, अखण्ड कीर्तन लगायतका कार्यक्रम हुने यस मन्दिरको व्यवस्थापन समेत दान दातव्यबाट सञ्चालन भइरहेको छ।
यो जानकी मन्दिर चाहिँ छुटगुठी अन्तर्गत पर्छ। अनि गुठी स्थान र हाम्रो जुन लाल मोहर छ नि, त्यसमा लेखेको छ यसको जुन सम्पत्ति छ, यसको जुन साधन स्रोत छ, यसैबाट चाहिँ यसलाई सञ्चालन गर्ने भएन भन्ने महन्जी स्वयं यसको व्यवस्था गर्ने।
ऐतिहासिक रूपले महत्त्वपूर्ण सांस्कृतिक धरोहर मानिने जानकी मन्दिर धार्मिक हिसाबले नेपाल र भारत दुवै देशका हिन्दू धर्मावलम्बीहरूको सेतु पनि हो। मध्य प्रदेश सरकारले हिन्दू धर्मावलम्बीहरूको पवित्र र प्रख्यात तीर्थस्थल जानकी मन्दिरलाई विश्व सम्पदा सूचीमा सूचीकृत गर्नका लागि आफ्नो 2081-82 को नीति तथा कार्यक्रममा समावेश समेत गरिसकेको छ। धार्मिक पर्यटनमा अथाह सम्भावना बोकेको जानकी मन्दिर लगायतका ऐतिहासिक धरोहरहरूले हाम्रो संस्कृति र परिचय झल्काउँदछ।
Nepal is lucky. It's got Dharmendra and Amitabh Bachchan both in one. You're two in one. Two superstars in one superstar.
But nonetheless, thank you. Thank you so much. But then tell us more about Sholay.
Once again, Nepali cinema making history on the 9th edition of NIF, Nepal International Film Festival, here on NTV Board with the collaboration NTV World. We just don't have two personalities on a talk show. We have two legends. One is Mr. Rajesh Hamal, the superstar of Nepali cinema film industry, and the other one, who is the blockbuster director, none other than Mr. Rajesh Hamal and Mr. Ramesh Sippi. We are having them here on this Creative Forum talk, only on NTV World.
Mr. Ramesh Sippi ji, good afternoon.
Namaskar.
Namaskar, and welcome. Welcome to Kathmandu.
Thank you.
Is this your first time?
No, this is my third trip.
A third trip. Yeah, it's an absolutely pleasure. Welcome to Nepal once again, you know. Unfortunately, we're meeting at a very tumultuous time. You know, the world is going through. You know, they're hell bent on destruction and domination. You know, I think the onus lies on the creative people. You know, to spread their good words about collaboration, humanity, human emotions, human value, just to offset the balance.
Absolutely agreed.
Right, and I think we should speak up and then spread our narration through our arts, through our...
Yeah, because you have a voice, you have people listening.
Right.
And you have that command. So whatever you say, it will carry some weight.
Whatever you say will also carry a lot of weight. I haven't met you before, but I, of course, know of you. You have a very illustrious career, illustrious film life that you have spent, and not only you, your father as well. Could you tell us a little bit about you? I mean, most of us know of you pretty well, but nevertheless, can you tell us, like, where you were born, how did it start, and how did your family got into films?
I was born in 1944 in Karachi. And
so before the partition?
Yes. And about 1947, we moved here immediately after the partition. I mean, I was only 3 years old, so my memory is not very sharp on that. But yes, we started out here. My father went into the construction business, buildings.
In Mumbai?
In Mumbai. And it was a very strange time because when he advertised a building and a flat, at that time, you were either a landlord or a tenant. So there was no purchase as such. Purchase in a small way. A big bungalow or a big thing belongs to one person, yes. Otherwise, because the people would come there and they would say, this wall, this side is mine, and that side, somebody else. So, it was a very strange way, but he started selling. Then 1951, he made a film called Saza. My father.
Your father did. His good name was G.P. Shippy.
That's right.
Right. He's a very prominent filmmaker as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Devanand, Nimmi, and Shyama. So with these three, he made a film. Because of his construction thing, he kept meeting people from the film line who wanted to buy. Raj Kapoor would come.
How did he decide to get into making films from construction? Because those are completely poles apart.
Because he was selling.
He was making money.
People were making, people were coming there to take so then that's how he got.
Oh, he started off as an investor.
Yes, as investors they came in. And that's how he got into it. Well, after that, I was lucky that he was already in, and I worked for about 8 years from 61 to 69, I was just working on the sets in every department possible. And then in 69, I launched my own film, Andaz.
You didn't do anything else in life before that?
No. I went to London in 61 to do something, to maybe commerce, the college there, but I couldn't get into it. My heart and mind was there, so I rang up my father and I said, can I come back? He did not take even 1 second. He said, sure, if you're not happy, come back. That was...
And the first film that you made, was it because you had the passion for filmmaking, or it was like a family business kind of thing?
Not at all. It was absolutely my passion. Because everybody said, why are you making a film like this? A widow and a widower? You shouldn't make this kind of film here. It may be a nice film, but people won't like it. So...
Andaz, I remember, was very well received, especially that song on a motorcycle.
That's right. Zindagi Ek Safar Hai.
Yeah, that motorcycle. I mean, I couldn't sing to save my life.
Yeah, two iconic ones, because that was the theme of the film. Hai na bolo bolo, papa ko mummy se, mummy ko papa se pyar hai. They were both without a partner, and that's how they come together.
So how did that come about? I mean, it was the storyline was a little bit anomaly for its time, and did you come up with this idea yourself? Are you also the writer of your own films, or?
Well, you see films, you're inspired, but there's no direct connection. But just felt that we've seen plenty of films in the normal. Why not try something which is a little different? And that was the reason I said, yes, let's do that. Luckily, it worked. But I'll tell you, in the smaller towns, it was still not accepted.
Oh, because of the storyline.
That storyline. And that told me, listen a bit. So you've got to listen to what people say also. But you've got to take a step forward.
But yeah, so those days, the filmmaker had to be extremely conscious about the social values and things like that, and what they would accept, what they would not accept.
True.
Including how you dress especially the leading actresses and all that.
Yes.
So that was your first film, Andaz?
That's
right. And that was made in
1969. It was released in 1971.
Okay. And then the ball started rolling after that?
Went on to make Sita Aur Geeta. Again,
that was a kind of a maverick work as well. No? Yes. Sita Aur Geeta, double role.
Yes.
Were you fascinated with Hema Malini from day one, or?
Well, she was.
Or did you have a good rapport with her?
Yes,
or?
Yes. She was very, very lovely. Very. She was we were dubbing for Andaz post production, and I said, "Would you like to play this double role on the mic?" I was telling her. She was inside, and
the set of Andaz.
She was dubbing for the end of the film.
So you're offering her another project?
Yes, on the mic. She said, "What? You think I can do it?" I said, "Yes, if you put your heart into it, we can do it." And that's how Sita Aur Geeta came about. Yes, I was very fortunate to have Salim Javed with me. Absolutely brilliant writers. And we moved on. And again, Sholay was a two-line idea. It's all, at that time, it was an army officer and two cadets, and they were mischievous guys, and so he calls them later in life to help for him, for his personal revenge. We just converted into the police, that's all.
And you did all this at a relatively young age, didn't you? Like you were like in your mid-20s, or?
I was 25 and I started Andaz. Then in Sita Aur Geeta, I was 27, 28, and 29 I started Sholay.
Sholay, you started at 29.
9 and finished in 31. The film was released.
Now that you've mentioned Sholay, you and Sholay are so synonymous. You know, like everybody, when they think about Sholay, they think about you. When they think about you, they think about Sholay. How did that, such a, for its time, it was larger than life. Those days, mostly cinema used to be made in CinemaScope and 35 mm, and you went into 70 mm. And the storyline was slightly, you know, different as well from your normal Hindi film storyline. And what I can tell by looking at Sholay is maybe there's an element of a Western movie influence in there.
You're absolutely right.
But you gave such an Indian flavor to it that the Indian audience totally lapped it up.
I was always fascinated by the way the Western films were made and those
You used to watch a lot of Clint Eastwood films?
Yes, first the Clint Eastwood films, then the films like Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. And all these Westerns gave a wonderful kind of feel at that time. And so it was not easy to adapt to Indian, the Western, but because we had our dacoits and they operated in the Chambal Valley.
They could be the baddies, yeah.
And I guess circumstances took them to that point.
But the way you presented the film and the storyline was so amazing and so different from the kind of films that were being made in that era. You know, like the most prominent thing that I would say of Sholay was that you brought every character to life. When people think of Sholay, they definitely think of you as well, but they think of not just the protagonists, they think of all the characters, from Kalia to Mosti to even the horse, the Basanti. They remember everything. So you brought so much of life to each and every character, whether they were doing the leading role or the side role, but everybody had a prominence present in that film. How did you manage that?
From the idea we began with, it turned out to be a very good script. And with that script, while scripting, had a lot of these actors in mind. And very fortunately, all of them agreed to come in. It's very difficult for such a big, so many different actors to come in, big actors. Otherwise, they'll worry what will happen.
Was Amitabh Bachchan ji relatively new during that time, or was he?
He had just started to come up. His film, Zanjeer, was released after he signed with us for Sholay.
So you got him cheap.
I made up for it in the next film. He said, okay, you got me cheap there, now what are you going to give me here? Okay, so much. Nepal is lucky. It's got Dharmendra and Amitabh Bachchan both in one. You're two in one. Two superstars in one superstar.
But nonetheless, thank you. Thank you so much. But then tell us more about Sholay. How did you do the characterization? How did you come up with the storyline?
As I said, I was very lucky to have Salim Javed, who came to me towards the end of the making of Andaz. Halfway through, they joined me, and then Sita or Gita did it. They wrote Sita or Gita. And then, as far as Sholay was concerned, we worked on the script. They had an idea, one-line idea.
Oh, they had it themselves?
Yes,
okay.
And it was with somebody else who didn't want to make it. Manmohan Desai, I think. He said, this is not my kind of film. So he passed it, passed by, gave a pass to it, so you could take it. And they narrated these two lines, an army officer with two cadets, and he calls them for his. So I think I was lucky that I had these two wonderful writers with me, and we were able to bring together a script which had all these elements in it, and all of us are always inspired by good cinema.
When they were writing, did you tell them that you wanted a Western kind of style to it?
Yes, absolutely.
You told them that?
Yes.
Did you give them any references? Or?
Yes, all these that I told you about, Butch Cassidy, like these two are like the Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kid, and one of them dies at the end, if you remember Butch Cassidy also.
That was Paul Newman and Robert.
That's right, that's right. So that's how it developed, and it developed well, and all the pieces started falling together, the actors coming in. And then, as I said, I was very keen that I go to a different location. My art director took me down south, and near Bangalore, about 50 kilometers away from Bangalore, was this, all these rocks. The moment I saw them, I said, this is it. The den would be here, and the village would be just close by somewhere, and this is where it could all take place. And then we built a village there.
So how long did the homework take place?
The idea and the thought coming, and we got everyone together, and by the coincidentally, the film started on the 2nd of October, 73, October 2nd.
And then you had such prominent actors in that film. How difficult was it to coordinate them? I mean, how does it work in Indian cinema when you have so many prominent actors and actresses in your set? How does the coordination work? Is it a difficult task?
I think because there were well-defined roles, so there was no real fear that everyone knew, because if you remember the climax of Sholay, one thing leads to the other, and each actor gets to play his part in such a way that if Dharabji, when he moves away for a short while, and Amitabh takes the bullets. So he dies, and then he vows vengeance, and he drives, and he does the climax of killing all of them, right down to when Sanjeev Kumar comes and says, no, this is mine. Gabbar is mine. You leave Gabbar to me, because that was why I called you for this. So it all fell in such a way that everyone had his piece, and everyone was satisfied with what he was doing.
They all felt justified. I mean, no doubt, as a maker, you were a maverick when you were making Sholay, but over the years, how does it feel? I mean, if I may ask you this, that people usually remember the performance and the performers more than the maker and the director. Do you see a quiet injustice in there? Like, when you talk about Sholay, they remember Gabbar Singh, maybe Viru, and what's the other guy's name? Jay and Viru and Hema Malini and this.
Surma Bhopali and...
And over the line, somehow the maker gets sort of like, it's shattered. Do you see a kind of a quiet injustice in there as a maker?
Well, yes and no, because yes, the credit, but it's very natural as far as an audience is concerned to identify with the actor, because that's who the story is being told through. So they become real life, and they become the real characters. So for them, that is the first thing that hits them. The people behind the scene, yes, okay, but there have been chaos of Mughal-e-Azam in one film, and he's remembered as a... And of course, Mehboob Khan, which is Mother India, and so there are a few.
You have left, no doubt, an indelible mark in the Hindi the cinema, you will always be remembered. But I was just taking this out because, most of the time when you have big stars and the movie is successful, they remember it as the star's film rather than the maker's film. True. Whereas initially, the project is the maker's baby, actually. That's where it starts.
I want to make a wonderful film, and if you stand out as an actor, but it's the same thing. We want it to work. We want the people to like it. So I think.
But Sholay, I believe, was not, initially it was sort of like received very lukewarm, like it didn't have a great response.
Again, unfortunately, I have to defer. There was no such thing.
Oh, there wasn't?
No. Headlined disaster. Disaster. Every week. Disaster 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. For 5 weeks they hammered that this kind of a film, no way. And because they'd already given it once, taking it back was not easy. But finally, in the 6th week, they admitted that yes, it's a big hit. And there is no such thing that, because in the 2nd and 3rd week, people were repeating the dialogues. Right. So in the theater, we knew this is a repeat audience. A repeat audience doesn't come if they haven't liked it the first time. They're not going to come a second time. So that's.
But do you remember around that time, the same time, there was another film that was released with very little budget but did extremely well. I think it was Jai Santosima, or.
Yes, on the very same day.
Yeah. So, what was your reaction to that film? I mean, here you are with a multi-star, with a great budget, larger-than-life presentation film. And there's another film which is low budget and just comes out and
as a matter of fact,
and comes out with a bang.
When the trade papers spoke like this about Sholay, they also mentioned that look at this film, Jai Santoshima. At this budget, it's a blockbuster, and Sholay was demoted. But then, of course, they.
Yeah, but Sholay, of course, lasted much longer, and it's become a history, and it becomes a milestone of Indian cinema. Rameshji, can you, you've experienced so many periods and so many phases in Indian cinema. You've come a long way. How do you see cinema of today, especially the Hindi cinema scenario of today? How do you look at them?
I think the best way to look at it is today's audiences and their educational levels and their exposure to the world is quite different. So we are seeing a change, but at the same time, we have to remember that we are competing with ourselves on television, on OTT, on all these are a part of the audiovisual entertainment, and yet a lot of people might say today, I would rather sit at home and watch it where it comes on OTT.
So what do you think about the modern technology of filmmaking? I mean, do you take it as a progressive change, or?
Yes, any technology improvements that help and aid a filmmaker should be welcomed. Now, do they take away from you as a maker? I think they're meant to enhance your work. I think anything you think of and you want to do special effects, it's only going to help what your vision is. If it is taken in that light, and you do not make the mistake of letting it take over the storytelling or the thrust of the film and the emotions of the film, you don't allow these to be taking over that, then you're okay. You've got to create that balance.
Director used to be like almost 95% in charge of the project. How you're going to film it, how he's going to frame it, how he's going to present it. But now the directors have to work in coordination with so many different technical departments and engineers and special effect people that the share of the director is just limited to maybe just an imagination or the concept of how he wants to do it, and the other people put it together.
But I think, as I said, sensibility prevails, that you try to create that balance between technology and the real thing. And the actors today, if they find there is a good maker, I'm sure you as an actor would be happy to have a good director with you. He can only help and guide a little more. You're going to ultimately take, as you yourself said, he gets the maximum appreciation goes to the actor. So it's as a maker, you just have to just make that compromise in your mind that it is a medium. You can do a lot with it, with all these new technology things. Take it in the positive way and use it to help you. Now, if you have a crowd of horses coming in, and you have 4 horses you use who are good, and you add to those horses, it'll like a herd of
104 horses.
That's it. So it's the advantage is there if you use it correctly. And if you unnecessarily use technology, you're going to...
If you had the advantage of using this technology while making Sole, would Sole would have been any different?
A damn good question, and I don't have an answer.
No, but it's done. It's printed. It's a history, and it's a hallmark. Like you represent Hindi cinema, and most of the Hindi cinemas are like star-driven, and they're the main attractions. And the unique selling point of a film actually becomes the stars and all that. How important is it, in your view, that does an actor like transform himself or herself completely into a character, or does the actor bring his own essence to every role? Does the part of the actor has to be alive in every role, especially the star-driven, or they can succumb themselves totally into a character?
I think mostly they can. I think a very, very particular character which calls for a change of image, the actor is excited about playing something entirely different, and the director feels that this is an actor who can, because he's such a good actor, he'll be able to deliver in this kind of a role. Then they work together to change that image which was existent before that. But most of the time, it's the image.
I mean, you sort of played in abundance in terms of, relatively, in terms of whether budget or your writers or your technicians. When do you think the creativity actually flourishes? Is it in abundance or in limitation?
When Dharmendraji goes up on that tank, now, it's not exactly word by word what was written for him. Then there was improvisation as well. And it had to be because he's in that mood. So that was a combination of the character as well as the actor and the lines and his performance. And I mean, it just all came together so beautifully that today it's a scene which is remembered. And that goes for Mr. Bachchan as well.
Does your creativity gets limited if you're working within a limited budget, within limited resources? Does that hamper your creativity as a filmmaker, as opposed to when you have?
Unfortunately, my experience is that I had a budget for Sholay, 1 crore, because my previous film, Sita or Gita, cost 50 lakhs. So we said, let's be a bit large-hearted, keep 1 crore for this.
But for 73, that was a lot of money. For 1973, that was a lot of money.
Yes, but it went on to cost 3 crores. Because it went on and on. Because I've said this before, but shooting the massacre scene of Sanjeev Kumar's family, the Thakur's family, I started to shoot, and after 2 days, the clouds came and the sun went away. So we sat for a day. In those days, the film was such that you could not do anything about it. You had to get some sunlight. You couldn't match it like you do in post-production, as you say. Correct? So otherwise you could have fiddled with it in post-production. But no. Then on the fourth day, clouds again. So I asked the cameraman, because the mind started to work. And the texture of the scene changed. I said, if I do it like this, I'll be able to build that, the little wind, the little, and it changed only in terms of what the, not that the dialogues were changed or anything like that. But the sense of it, the point is it cost me 21 days of shooting because of the weather. I had to wait for the cloudy weather. Then we started to make some thin covers on top to filter, if the sun is there, how to filter it on the sets. Things like that were improvised, and we were able to shoot it. And ultimately, there was no other way but to spend more time and money trying to get what you want.
Right, but did you feel that you were taking a risk in terms of money?
I tried not to think about it.
Right.
And my father never said a word to me, what are you doing? So that's where I was very lucky. He just let me do what I was doing. He had the confidence that I was doing the right thing.
Suppose you've spent so much of money, so much of time, so much of energy into this dream project of yours, Sholay. And if it had failed miserably in the box office,
I wouldn't be here then.
So there is no such thing as taking things with a pinch of salt and getting up and moving up again. Can that happen to a filmmaker? When a dream project fails,
yes, it can.
And he still retains the energy to continue,
yes,
to stand up and move?
It can happen, but it will affect his confidence also.
Do you know anyone that you know like that in Hindi cinema?
No, I'm sure there must be people who have felt this. People start to abandon you financially, or in different ways. You find even actors then dropping out from projects. These things do happen. It's not.
How much of a burden is it when you lose a lot of money in a film? How much for the maker?
Well, if it's borrowed money, it's carrying interest all the time. There is a certain foolishness when you allow budgets to go that.
How do you look at the progression of cinema making over the years? Because you see, what has happened is with so many different sources of viewing cinema, people have cinema in their own hands. With a click of a button, they can go anywhere. And what it used to be a cinema literacy in those days are available to anyone with a nice smartphone. A 10-year-old would have a cinema literacy of that of, let's say, 70s professional filmmaker, when they talk about long shot, mid shot, focus in, focus out, this and that. All these cinema jargons are used by lay persons today. So is it more challenging to be a filmmaker in this time and age than it used to be before?
I think that will always be there. The challenges were there then. As you said,
every second person in one way or the other is a filmmaker these days, Everybody is creating one thing or the other. Whereas in those days, filmmaking was exclusively the department of the professionals.
Correct.
And they only knew how to do it, If they were talking about editing, the rest of the audience didn't know. If they were talking about, I don't know, long shot, mid shot, focus out, focus. And these are the jargons that the normal people are using it these days. What's dubbing, what's this. So do you think it's a more of a challenge, much more challenging to be a film director in this age and era?
Today, yes, I think it is. But as I said, if you take technology along with you and let it help you in achieving what you want to achieve, you will be able to achieve it in lesser money today because of the special effects. Your knowledge of that technology will allow you to, okay, this I can do. So it can be helpful.
Like I remember, even in the 90s, if you have to picturize, say, the interior of a moving car, that itself was an extreme challenge.
It was.
And now you have so many different types of cameras available, you can do it in a flick of a finger.
Yes, I remember, because after that, when I made Shan, that started to happen. I used to sit on the bonnet of the car, facing the actor behind the wheel, and the co-artist with the actor in front, and you're going through, and the crowds, you have to avoid the crowds because you'll see them. So all these factors were there, and it was very difficult to shoot within the city. And all my work on Shan was in the city, on the docks, in the streets, on those car chases and everything. What would normally have taken 3-4 days to shoot took, again, 20 days, 25 days to get it right.
And the audience were pretty naive about the
the difficulties. They don't see the difficulties, they see the end product.
That's why the word, the cinematic liberty used to be very famous those days, because
absolutely
you know you can fool your audience.
Absolutely correct. You got it.
Which is probably not possible these days, yeah. Yeah, the difference today is that, people want to watch larger than life and extraordinary things on the screen, but at the same time, they demand that it should be believable, even if it is done extraordinarily, larger than life way. The audience still wants to know that it has to be presented in such a way that it's believable. That's
correct.
They don't see any mistakes in there, so it has to be flawless today. And the technology has probably helped that.
That has, yes, it definitely has. But each time, even then, when the back projection came in first, for the first time, it was a technological advance. It did help a lot.
Especially in a moving objects, yeah.
Yes. But there you could see technically that it was, if you were very sharp, you could tell it's done on a back projection screen, because you didn't have enough maneuverability. Just the back window, the back glass, the back of the car, the rear glass would allow you to, so your blue screen was behind it, and that's how.
But the general audience had no idea how it has been done, and that's probably what.
Now they all know, as you say.
Now they all know. They know everything about filmmaking. So this is what I feel nowadays. If you're a filmmaker these days, you have to be a notch higher than the average person, because everyone knows about filmmaking. Everybody knows how to make a moving picture. Everybody knows about editing. Everybody knows about how to put, good visuals together. So in order to be a good filmmaker, one has to be few notches higher than the normal people.
Yes, you got it right. You've hit it on the spot. It is so easy, and they know all about it. So when they see, oh, this must have been done like this, and this must have been done like that. And yet, when the audience comes into a theatre to watch the film, they are ready to watch. It's not, they haven't come there to criticize it. They really want to appreciate it, otherwise they wouldn't spend that 500,000, 1,500 bucks for a ticket. In the days of Sholay, it was 2 rupees, 3 rupees, and 4 rupees.
Don't you think the movie viewing culture has changed drastically? Like those days when you were making Sholay, film used to be actually the cheapest form of entertainment.
Absolutely.
And now it's not so cheap form of entertainment at all. So how do you see that? I mean, once upon a time, cinema was, accessible to every lay person. A person who labors on the street throughout the day is looking forward to go and watch a film in an air-conditioned movie hall and just have a good time. Whereas today, maybe some of the movie theaters are off-limit to people of certain income groups.
That's true.
So how do you see this transformation?
Yes, but theaters are also doing things now to, you come on a particular day, the ticket is much lower. They have these incentives, or you go there, you'll get a Coke or a thing extra. There are ways of getting around that. So it makes it a little more easier for certain audiences who would not be able to afford it to come in and get a pleasure of the big screen.
Yeah, this is what I have distinctly noticed in it. Not just in India, even here in Nepal. Earlier when we used to go to the movie hall, the representation was mostly of the average person of that society or that country. But now you go to one of these fancy movie halls in the city, and then you see it's a completely different class of people representing as an audience. That is something distinctly I have noticed over the period of time.
What we do have is most of the screens are like that now. There are a few single cinemas still in existence, and that audience still goes there, and the rates are also lower there. But yes, it's a big problem.
And as far as the content of the Hindi cinema goes nowadays, or the storyline of Hindi cinema, do you think that has gone through changes over the period? Like the kind of story you would want to make into a film in the 70s as opposed to now?
I don't think that at its core it's different. You see Dhurandhar today?
Just the presentation has changed a lot.
He's made a wonderful film, but he's used what we are talking about. He's used technology as well as the real thing, and he's made a wonderful combination. But it is all action and blood and gore, and it's been presented in a way that is palatable. And this is a bigger hit than just a family story or a. So this is how.
So that is immutable truth. That's an unchanging truth over the years. The content of the story.
Yes.
The technology might help it to bring it into a different scale and different presentation.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but I guess cinema is all about human emotions and human expressions, and human emotions and expressions probably don't change.
And they're
people
forever.
feel the same way.
Yeah, you don't. If you love someone, you love someone. It's not that
angry at someone, you're angry at someone.
And you're angry, absolutely.
Whether you're a man at 70s or the man of today's age.
Something will take you to that intolerable level. It's bound to.
This is what I always felt, everything is changeable. Like over the years, place might change, cities might change, society might change, but the emotion remains intact, the way our great-grandfather felt when they were in love is the same kind of emotions that we feel today. The way they reacted when they were angry, we react in a more or less same way, So the human emotion is, I think, the only thing which is permanent in this ever-changing world,
Yes, I'm sure most of the people will agree. I have no problem with those who don't. I carry my convictions with myself, and as you would always do for yourself, and each one does for themselves. I think it's fair.
From all this larger-than-life project, how did you get into television all of a sudden? Especially in those days. I mean, Bunyad was in Doordarshan, right?
Yes.
Before the cable television and multi-channel.
Yes.
So how did that come about? I mean, how was that transformation made?
Actually, some of the DD officials at that time suggested to my father, because he had a good rapport with the government, and they said, we've launched this channel, but we need some good material on it. Can you think of something we can... And the writer who had written an earlier...
The story revolved around partition, right?
Yes.
India,
No, what I'm saying is
partition.
the writer of Bunyad was a writer who had done an earlier film, earlier series. As I got to know that writer, I felt a kind of a pulse that it's going to, this guy knows what he's talking about. So when it was set in partition and he was able to come up with a script, which I liked. And I said, okay, let's go. It was a whole different kind of movie making. It was not movies, it was every episode, if you could leave it on a little...
And you must have shot in video cameras or...
the first 26 episodes I shot on film, 16 mm film. And then switched to the videos.
And that was, how many series was it? Like how long?
105 episodes.
105. So that's what, like over a year? Over
a year, twice a week, 52 weeks, 104 episodes.
Was that a profitable venture?
Yes,
it was. Okay.
It did well. In the beginning, we lost a lot of money, but started to pick up. And because we got into control of the shooting time, and then we were able to bring it out at a fairly commercial kind of income, cost to income, we were able to balance it well.
So that was the only television venture that you attempted?
No, I did one more. After that, I made a film. Then after that film, I did one again for the DD started the morning thing.
The
morning segment. That's where I made something called Kismat. So that was also, that did well. Then later on, went to do a film, a series called Gatha, which was also 100 episodes, just a little bit less than that. But that actually was on Star Plus. Now, Star Plus, the audience was not a DD audience. It was Star Plus had not made a dent in the...
So they were just coming in?
Yes.
Star Plus, okay. And that took the television industry a much higher.
Then Star Plus, once
you had your
Saas Bahu thing came in.
Yeah, and then you have
it went
ZTV
crazy.
and whatnot, and much later after that. Before we part, Rameshji, I mean, we talked a lot about Sholay, but I would also like to talk about your other very, very popular film like Shahan, Shakti, Trishul. These are all yours, right?
Not Trishul.
Not Trishul.
Shahan, Shakti, Sagar.
Sagar, yeah, right, exactly, Sagar. Tell us about that. Sagar is what? Rishi Kapoor and Kamal Hassan ji?
Kamal Hassan, Rishi Kapoor, and
Dimple.
Dimple, yeah.
That was a combination of that time as well, like getting Kamal Hassan from South, and then you have this lover boy image of Rishi Kapoor, and Dimple was she was taking a sabbatical, and you...
Yeah, she did only one film first.
You woke her up and brought her to the set. How did that come about?
Again, we decided, because I like to do each film different from my previous film. Shakti was a drama, father and son. So
yeah, you brought in Dilip Kumarji with Amitabh Bachchan, which was also another huge step. And
then I felt maybe a love story. Let's think of something which is different. Discussed it with Javed Sahab. Unfortunately, they had split at that time, Salim Javed. So Javed, then let's do a triangle, but it was just a thought. It was not a script. It took about a year for that to happen. And then a lot of it was made on the set, in the sets, improvisations and how it would be. Because Kamal Hassan, I found, was an actor so full of himself that, and he was so right in the way he did things, in the sense, sir, can I do it like this? Only if you feel that it's okay, then I can, and he would do it in a certain way. It was written in a certain way, and he did it a little differently.
As opposed to Rishi Kapoorji, who's very spontaneous and...
Yeah, he's simple. And because his role was like that. But him, he's part of the village, he's jumping around, he's got... So all that energy was his. He brought that extra energy to the character. So that's how actors also do when they make it their own and bring something extra out of it. You got to, and you got to be prepared to accept that as a director. You must. Otherwise, if I had said no, it would have been normal. But it may not have been the performance it was.
Before I let you go, how's life now? What are you doing now? And what do you?
I am thinking of a project, which hopefully, if it all works out in the next month or two, then by the end of the year I might shoot. It's not a big budget or a huge thing, but it's set in a place called Mathura in UP. It's set over there with characters from there. So I think if all works out, then I should be on that.
I wish you all the best. And may you have a very long and healthy life and creative life. And
thank you so much.
And don't let your passion go.
That was two cinema legends in one frame, and this is Creative Forum. We'll be back with more shows and episodes. This is me, Suveksha Rajak. Let's leave for another creativity.
The first space is your home. The second space is your work or school.
Oh, very good.
And the third space? It is a place for your social life to actually unfold.
क्यापिटल सिटीहरू चाहिँ मान्छेहरू चाहिँ आफ्नो लाइफमा आफ्नो डे टु डे लाइफमा यति धेरै बिजी भइसकेका हुन्छ कि उनीहरू एकदमै आइसोलेटेड भइसकेका हुन्छन् के सो यसबाट चाहिँ लाइक टु गेट ओभर इट अनि एक्सप्लोर गरेर आफूलाई फ्रेस गराउनको लागि हैन त्यसको लागि चाहिँ इट्स रियली एसेन्शियल.
In many parts of the Western world, third spaces look like cafes, libraries, pubs, and so on. We have those too in Nepal, but historically we have always done it a little differently.
म चाहिँ यो नजिकै बस्ने भएको भएर म यो ठाउँमा अक्सर आइरहन्छु हैन. मलाई यो पब्लिक प्लेसहरु सार्वजनिक ठाउँहरु एकदमै मन पर्छ मलाई चाहिँ. अनि अब काठमाडौँ आफै पनि साँगुरो छ हैन. हामीसँग थोरै मात्रै पब्लिक स्पेसहरु छ. त्यसमध्ये बसन्तपुरको यो सार्वजनिक स्थल चाहिँ एकदमै मलाई लाग्छ काठमाडौँ भित्रको क्राउडमा पनि अलिकति रमाइलो गर्नलाई आफ्नो फ्यामिलीसँग टाइम स्पेन्ड गर्नलाई अनि अलिकति फ्रेस भएर बसौँ अलिकति हावा खाएर बसौँ भन्ने हो भने यो ठाउँ चाहिँ हाम्रो वर्ल्ड हेरिटेजमा भएको साइटहरु हेर्दै हामी मजाले रमाउन सक्छौँ गफ गर्न सक्छौँ.
The term third space comes from sociologist Ray Oldenburg's 1989 book The Great Good Place. He described it as public space outside of your home or work where you can exist socially and build connections. But in Nepal, the idea of a third space has existed for centuries.
नेपालको सन्दर्भमा हेर्यो भने पनि हामी 16औं शताब्दीमा मल्ल राजाहरूले चाहिँ यसलाई क्रिएट गरेको पाउँछौं. तर त्यो भन्दा अगाडि पनि लिच्छवीकालीन हेर्यो भने पनि यो स्पेसहरु चाहिँ क्रिएसन गरेको देखिन्छ. किनभने काठमाडौँ दरबार स्क्वायरमा हेर्यो भने एउटा चाहिँ के छ भने स्पिरिचुअली पनि लिएको छ. त्यहाँ शिव पार्वती मन्दिरहरु छ भने हनुमान ढोका छ. त्यस्तै गरेर नसाल चोक छ दरबारको लागि. त्यस्तै गरिकन कुमारीको पनि त्यही छ. अनि यो जम्मैले हामी के देख्छौं भने यो थर्ड स्पेस चाहिँ हामी अहिले मात्रै हैन कि परम्परागत देखि नै पाइन्छ. बिहान पख चाहिँ किसानहरुले ताजा तरकारी ल्याउने पनि भेट्थ्यो. अनि अहिले पनि कुरा छ फ्रेस सब्जीहरु खान्छ भने बिहान यो थर्ड स्पेसमा जाने भन्छ. अहिले पनि हामी हेर्यो भने यो दरबार स्क्वायरको वरिपरि तरकारी के अरे बेच्न बिहान किसानहरुले ल्याएको हामी पाउँछौं. यो चाहिँ त्यही भएर यो परम्परागत देखिन्छ. अर्को चाहिँ के छ भने यो इन्टरेक्सन गर्ने ओल्ड एज अथवा रिटायर मान्छे यस्ता मान्छेहरुले पनि त्यो थर्ड स्पेस युज गरेको पाउँछौं.
From temple courtyards to neighborhood chokes to palace squares, our third spaces are woven into the fabric of our history and culture itself. They live on the temple steps. They are sheltered under the shade of the traditional falcha and poured into teacups at hole-in-the-wall tea stalls.
कोही साथीहरु मिलेर आउँछ, कोही अब विदेशीहरु पनि आएर चिया खान आउँछ यहाँ. अनि अब कोही अब यसो अब कामसाम सकाएर आरामले चिया खाने हिसाबले आउनेहरु पनि मान्छेहरु आउँछ है. अब बेलुकासम्म काम पसल बन्द गरेर चिया खान आउनेहरु पनि आउँछ तपाईको यहाँ.
Beyond these grand palace courtyards, the surrounding traditional neighborhood also have their own junctions, built as a part of the people's local daily lives.
दरबार भनेको चाहिँ यो कन्ट्री वाइड भयो त्यतिखेर र नेबरहुड वाइड भन्छ के. नेबरहुडमा पनि हामी चोक भेटाउँछौं. त्यो अनि त्यसलाई पनि के गरेको छ त भन्दाखेरि हायरार्की गरेछ, तहगत छुट्याइएको छ हैन. व्यक्तिगतलाई स्पेस पनि दिएको छ. जस्तो हामीले चाहिँ चारवटा दाजुभाइहरुको घर बनाएको छ नि एउटा कोर्टयार्ड बनाइदिने अनि त्यहाँ एउटा मन्दिर बनाउने गणेशको अथवा बुद्धको के छ त्यो एउटा ल्यान्डमार्क बनाउने र आफ्नो बिहानको घाम ताप्ने ठाउँ मात्रै हैन कि अब बसेर कुरा गर्ने अनि कार्यक्रमहरु गर्ने कुनै कार्यक्रम त्यस्तो अनि अलिक त्यो भन्दा वाइडर गर्यो भने अलिकता ठुलो कम्युनिटीमा जाने एउटा प्राइभेटबाट चाहिँ कम्युनिटीमा आयो अनि यो चाहिँ बस्नपुर जस्तो चाहिँ अब कन्ट्री वाइज एउटा नेशनल लेभलको चाहिँ स्पेस हो. त्यो अलिक ठुलो छ.
The third space does not have to be something high-tech or carefully curated. It just needs to be accessible enough for people to visit, relax, and connect. Third spaces are where people come together, talk, and feel like a part of something bigger, communal. In the hustle and bustle of a city like Kathmandu, they offer what many of us crave: a connection, a pause, a sense of belonging.
and welcome to Business World. I am Siksha Bhattrai. This week, global growth forecast, tougher regulation for big tech, major corporate shakeups, and new trade ambitions dominated the business agenda. We'll also look at how Asia is driving manufacturing and innovation before ending with an extraordinary sale from the world of natural history. The International Monetary Fund has slightly lowered its global growth forecast for next year, while projecting a stronger recovery in 2027. The latest outlook provides fresh insight into where the global economy is heading as countries navigate geopolitical uncertainty and rapid technological change.
The International Monetary Fund has projected a modest slowdown in global economic growth over the next 2 years. The IMF forecast the global economy will expand by 3.0% in 2026 before recovering to 3.4% in 2027. The projection is lower than the average growth rate of 3.5% recorded in 2024 and 2025, but remains broadly in line with the IMF's April forecast. The fund says the slowdown reflects the economic impact of the conflict in the Middle East, although stronger demand driven by rapid advances in artificial intelligence and the global technology sector is expected to partly offset those effects. The IMF has also upgraded its outlook for China, forecasting economic growth of 4.6% in 2026 and 4.1% in 2027. According to the IMF, China's stronger than expected first quarter performance was supported by increased public infrastructure spending and robust growth in high-tech manufacturing and exports. However, the fund warns that higher global oil prices, persistent uncertainty, and longer-term structural challenges are likely to continue weighing on China's economic outlook.
From the global economy to the digital world, European regulators are increasing pressure on the Meta. The company is facing fresh scrutiny over platform features that authorities say could encourage addictive behavior, particularly among younger users.
The EU charged Meta platforms Instagram and Facebook with breaching its tech rules, with regulators targeting features they say are designed to keep users hooked and demanding changes to autoplay and infinite scroll or risk fines. The European Commission's preliminary findings follow a 2-year investigation under the European Union's landmark Digital Services Act, which requires large online platforms to do more to tackle illegal and harmful content. Social media companies face growing scrutiny around the world over concerns that their platforms are contributing to a mental health crisis among children, prompting some governments to impose or consider bans for underage users. The Commission, the EU's tech regulator, said Meta had failed to adequately assess the addictive risk posed by highly personalized recommendations, autoplay, and infinite scroll, which continuously feed users new content and encourage prolonged engagement.
Staying with technology, South Korean chipmaker SK Hynix has made headlines with one of the largest public listings in history. The move highlights continued investor confidence in the semiconductor industry despite broader market uncertainty.
South Korean chip giant SK Hynix set pricing for its mega US listing on July 10, raising $26.5 billion, aiming to become one of the world's biggest ever stock sales. The Asian semiconductor giant plans to issue the equivalent of around 18 million shares on Wall Street's tech-heavy Nasdaq index later in the day. Its debut would be the largest US listing by a foreign company. The amount raised beat out Saudi Aramco's 2019 $25.6 billion debut in the Gulf and the $21.8 billion raised by Chinese tech firm Alibaba. The firm said 177.9 million depository shares, each representing 1/10 of a usual share, had been set at an initial public offering price of $149 per American depository share.
From semiconductors to automobiles, Europe's largest car maker, Volkswagen, is moving ahead with a major restructuring plan. The proposed job cuts have sparked protest as the company responds to rising competition and the costly transition to electric vehicles.
Volkswagen has announced a major restructuring strategy through 2030, including plans to reduce production capacity, halve its model lineup, and cut vehicle variants by up to 75% to lower cost and improve competitiveness. Europe's largest car maker is under pressure from US tariffs, weaker profit margins on electric vehicles, and intensifying competition in China, which is its biggest market. The overhaul follows a supervisory board meeting that reportedly discussed one of the largest restructuring programs in the company's history. Although Volkswagen did not confirm reports of up to 100,000 job cuts or the closure of 4 German factories, the uncertainty has sparked protests by IG Metall, one of Germany's largest trade unions.
Competition in artificial intelligence is also moving into the courtroom. Apple has filed a lawsuit accusing OpenAI and former employees of misusing confidential information, escalating tensions in the race to develop next-generation AI.
U.S. tech firm Apple has filed a federal lawsuit accusing American artificial intelligence research organization OpenAI, its startup IO Products, and 2 former Apple employees of stealing confidential product development information. In a lawsuit filed in a federal U.S. court in California, Apple alleged that its former employees emailed themselves internal Apple documents before leaving to join OpenAI, describing the actions as part of a pattern of theft of trade secrets. OpenAI denied any interest in other companies' trade secrets, with spokesperson Drew Pusateri saying the company is reviewing the complaint and remains focused on developing innovative AI technology. Apple, on the other hand, said the lawsuit is backed by significant evidence.
Another major legal battle is unfolding in the entertainment industry. A proposed merger between Paramount and Warner Bros. Is facing legal challenges over concerns that it could reduce competition and reshape Hollywood.
A dozen of U.S. states have joined together to block the $110 billion merger between Warner Bros. And Paramount, claiming the largest media consolidation in Hollywood history, would stifle competition and raise consumer prices. A lawsuit has been filed by 12 states, led by California, where Paramount and Warner Bros. Kept their headquarters and production studios. California Attorney General Rob Bonta claimed the merger would end up harming audiences on every sofa and movie theater seat in the United States. If it goes ahead, the new company would account for over a quarter of major film releases. Together with Disney, Universal, and Sony, just four conglomerates would control 86% of the market.
We now turn to Asia, where India has removed import duties on key electronic components. The government says the move will strengthen the country's position as a global manufacturing hub by attracting investment and reducing production costs.
India has removed import duties on several key components used in the manufacturing of smartphones and other electronic devices in a move aimed at strengthening its electronics. The government has scrapped import duties of 5 and 7.5% on select components, including parts used in wireless charging modules, displays for medical devices, and automobiles and lithium-ion cells. The exemption will remain in effect until March 31st, 2029. The policy is expected to lower production costs and benefit major global manufacturers such as Apple and Xiaomi, both of which have significantly expanded their manufacturing operations in India. Industry experts say the duty exemption on lithium-ion cells also could attract fresh investment in domestic battery production for consumer electronics and electric vehicles. The latest measure supports India's broader goal of expanding its electronic manufacturing sector to $500 billion by the 2030 fiscal year.
Trade diplomacy also remained in focus this week. Canada is aiming to finalize a free trade agreement with South America's Mercosur bloc in 2026, expanding market access in an evolving global trade environment.
Canada says it is aiming to finalize a trade agreement with the Mercosur group of South American countries by the end of the year, according to Foreign Minister Anita Anand during her visit to Brazil. The proposed deal would strengthen economic ties between Canada and the four-member Mercosur bloc, which includes Brazil, Argentina, Paraguay, and Uruguay. Ottawa is seeking to expand its international trade partnerships amid shifting global economic conditions and growing competition for markets. The talks are expected to focus on increasing trade flows, investment opportunities, and cooperation across key sectors.
Meanwhile, Thailand is preparing to host the IMF and World Bank annual meetings in 2026. Bangkok hopes the event will highlight the country's ambitions in digital finance and sustainable economic growth.
Thailand is set to host the 2026 annual meetings of the International Monetary Fund and World Bank Group in Bangkok from October 12 to 18, marking the second time the country has hosted the Global Financial Summit since 1991. The event at the Queen Sirikit National Convention Center is expected to attract more than 15,000 delegates from 191 countries, including policymakers, finance ministers, and central bankers. Thailand said the summit will boost its economy and global reputation with a focus on digital transformation, climate adaptation, resilience, and demographic challenges. The Bank of Thailand will also introduce the Bangkok Blueprint, a policy framework aimed at promoting secure, inclusive digital finance and strengthening global financial cooperation.
Back in South Korea, where the government is preparing its largest ever national budget. Officials say the spending plan will strengthen long-term competitiveness through strategic investment while maintaining fiscal discipline.
South Korea's government will draft a record national budget of more than 800 trillion South Korean won, equivalent to $535 billion for 2027, driven by stronger than expected tax revenue and aimed at boosting long-term economic growth through strategic investments. The government said next year's national tax revenue is projected to exceed 500 trillion South Korean won, equivalent to $334 billion, well above the initial estimate of 412 trillion South Korean won, largely due to robust earnings from the semiconductor industry. President Lee Jae-myung said the additional revenue would be directed toward investments designed to strengthen the country's future competitiveness. Central to the plan is the creation of a future response fund financed by the additional tax receipts. The South Korean investment also pledged to improve the managed fiscal balance and reduce the pace of national debt growth beginning next year.
From government policy to consumer trends, social media is transforming the way people travel in China. Digital platforms are increasingly shaping tourism decisions, creating new opportunities for destinations and businesses alike.
Chinese lifestyle platform Xiaohongshu, also known as Red Note in English, is reshaping China's tourism sector by influencing how consumers discover destinations and plan trips. The platform has fueled the growth of Dhaka tourism, where travelers visit trending locations primarily to capture and share photos on social media. The trend has created new opportunities for tourism businesses, local attractions, and service providers seeking to attract digital-savvy visitors. Historic locations such as Shirchahai in Beijing have benefited from increased online visibility, with businesses and tourism operators catering to visitors seeking photogenic experiences, including traditional costume photography around the scenic lake area. The shift shows how digital platforms are becoming powerful drivers of consumer behavior, influencing where people travel and how businesses market tourism experiences.
And finally, one of the world's most complete Tyrannosaurus Rex skeletons has sold for a record $50.1 million at auction in New York. The sale reflects the growing value of rare natural history specimens in the global collectible markets.
One of the most complete Tyrannosaurus Rex skeletons ever discovered has been sold for $50.1 million, including fees, at an auction in New York. Nicknamed Gus, the fossil dates back around 66 to 72 million years to the late Cretaceous period, when dinosaurs dominated the warmer Earth with high sea levels and vast coastal plains. The sale highlights the growing global interest in rare dinosaur fossils among collectors, museums, and researchers.
species. The T-Rex specimen is among the most significant examples of one of the most iconic predators in prehistoric history.
And that's all for this edition of Business World. Thank you for watching.
रामदी मेरो गाउँको नाम। धर्म, संस्कृति, सुन्दरता र शिक्षाको एउटा सुन्दर सम्मिश्रण पाइन्छ यहाँ, जुन अरू कतै बिरलै पाइन्छ।
My name is Paradasi. I'm studying at Paradasi. I'm Parvesh Vishal. I'm from Bhutan. Now I'm living in Ramdi. I'm very happy to learn.
अति महत्त्वपूर्ण र पवित्र मानिने काली गण्डकी नदीको शीतल काखमा बसेको छ रामदी। स्याङ्जा र पाल्पा जिल्लाको केन्द्रमा पर्ने हुनाले रामदीबाट यी दुई जिल्लाका मनमोहक पहाडहरू र ससाना सुन्दर बस्तीहरू देख्न सकिन्छ। शालिग्राम नाम गरेको चम्किलो ढुङ्गा पाइने संसारकै एकमात्र काली गण्डकी नदीमा अंगिरा र वशिष्ठ नदीहरू मिसिदा बन्ने त्रिवेणीको विशेष महत्त्व छ। यस त्रिवेणीमा हरिबोधिनी एकादशी, शिवरात्रि र वैशाख संक्रान्तिका पावन अवसरमा लाग्ने विशेष मेलाहरूमा सामेल हुन पाइन्छ। रामदीमा काली गण्डकी नदी अद्भुत तरिकाले दक्षिणबाट उत्तर भई बहने उत्तर वाहिनी भएको हुँदा यस क्षेत्रको छुट्टै धार्मिक र आध्यात्मिक महत्त्व रहेको जानकारहरू बताउँछन्। यो क्षेत्र प्रसिद्ध ऋषिहरू वशिष्ठ, मार्कण्डेय, कपिलदेव र योगी नरहरिनाथको पवित्र तपोभूमि हो। योगी नरहरिनाथले 2042 सालमा गायत्री मन्त्रबाट विश्व शान्तिका लागि कोटी हवन गरेको यो ऐतिहासिक स्थलमा प्रसिद्ध ऋषि कपिलले सिद्धि प्राप्त गरेको सुनसिद्ध गुफाले आज पनि धार्मिक तथा रमणीय पर्यटकहरूको मन लोभ्याइरहेको छ। यस गुफाको सुरुङ साँघुरो भएकाले र अन्त्य पत्ता नलागेकाले यो थप आकर्षणको केन्द्र बनेको छ।
यहाँ एक स्टेप हुन्छ, त्यहाँ अर्को स्टेप हुन्छ, त्यहाँ तल्लो अझै अर्को ठुलो स्टेप छ, 1500 जना अट्ने ठाउँ छ तल।
रामदीमा थुप्रै पर्यटकीय स्थलहरू छन्। यहाँ रहेका गायत्री मन्दिर, राधाकृष्ण मन्दिर, शिव मन्दिर आदि धार्मिक आस्थाका केन्द्रहरू हुन्। सँगै रहेको गौशालामा केही समय टहल्दा पर्यटकहरूलाई बेग्लै आनन्दको अनुभूति हुन्छ। रामदीको प्रमुख आकर्षण त्यहाँ रहेको राम नदी आश्रम हो। यो आश्रममा आध्यात्म, संस्कार, कला, शिक्षा र नयाँ पुस्ता बीचको आनन्दमय सहकार्य देख्न सकिन्छ। संस्कृत भाषामा दखल राखेका नयाँ पुस्ताको योग भजन कीर्तन मात्र नभई अंग्रेजी भाषामा पकड राख्ने र पुराना भजनदेखि नयाँ गीतहरूको गायनले आश्रम घुम्न जाने हर कोहीलाई चकित र मन्त्रमुग्ध बनाइदिन्छ। यसरी प्रकृतिको कोख र नदीहरूको काखमा बसेको रामदीमा हर कोहीलाई आकर्षित र अचम्मित गर्ने धेरै अद्भुत कुराहरू रहेका छन्।
वीरताको चिनो, इतिहासको निशानी, राष्ट्र निर्माणको किल्ला। आधुनिक नेपालको निर्माणको लागि पुर्खाहरूले युद्ध लड्न विभिन्न क्षेत्रमा गढी र किल्ला निर्माण गरेका छन्। ती किल्लाहरू वर्तमानमा इतिहासका साक्षी हुन्। सम्भावित बाह्य आक्रमण रोक्न तथा दुश्मनहरूसँग मुकाबिला गर्न उपयुक्त स्थान रोजेर सैनिक कौशलको प्रयोग गरी गढी तथा किल्लाहरूको निर्माण गरिन्छ। नेपालमा रहेका करिब 200 गढीहरूको आआफ्नै विशेषता रहेको छ। बढी हात हतियार सहित दुश्मनका फौजहरू पराजित भएको यी महत्वपूर्ण गढीहरू अहिले इतिहासका प्रमाण बनेर बसेका छन्। इतिहासका विभिन्न कालखण्डहरूमा राजा महाराजाका शासन, हस्तक्षेप, आक्रमण, प्रत्याक्रमणमा सिन्धुली साक्षी भएर बसेको छ। यही साक्षीको प्रमाणिक दस्तावेजहरू र जनश्रुतिहरू नै सिन्धुलीको ऐतिहासिक वैभव हो। सिन्धुली जिल्लाको पश्चिमी भेग तथा हालको हरिहरपुर गढी गाउँपालिकामा पर्ने यो गढी 13औं शताब्दीमा निर्माण भएको इतिहास छ। मकवानपुर र काभ्रे पलाञ्चोक जिल्लाको सिमाना नजिक रहेको यो गढी राजधानी काठमाडौँको रक्षा कवचको रूपमा लिन सकिन्छ। मकवानपुरी सेन राजाको मूल दरबार मकवानपुरमा थियो भने सहायक दरबार अर्थात् किल्लाको रूपमा हरिहरपुर गढीलाई लिने गरिन्थ्यो। 2200 राजाको भाषामा ती दुवै कोटहरू हुन् जहाँ मकवानपुरी राजा बेला बेलामा गएर बस्ने गर्दथे।
सेन राजाको वैकल्पिक दरबार कोट हरिहरपुर गढी, हरिहरपुर कोट हो त्यो। हामी गढी भनिरहेका छौँ। यो पछि हामी राजाको अस्थायी मुकाम हुनलाई जहाँ राजा गएर अस्थायी रूपमा बस्छन् र यदि मेन राजधानी मकवानपुरमा राजदरबारमा कसैले हमला गर्यो, केही गर्यो भने वैकल्पिक कहीँ त गएर बस्नु पर्यो, फेरि लड्नु पर्यो। भनेपछि यस्तो स्थितिमा राजाहरूले ठाउँ ठाउँमा कोटहरू बनाउँछन्। सेन राजाहरूको पनि आफ्नो राज्यभित्र विभिन्न ठाउँ उनीहरूले कोट बनाउँथे, जहाँ दरबारमा गएर राजा 4 दिन बस्थे, 4 वर्ष बस्थे, 4 महिना बस्थे भन्दा यो हरिहर इन्द्रसेन राजाले बनाएको यो चाहिँ अर्को एउटा वैकल्पिक मुकाम थियो राजा बस्ने। र पछि नेपाल एकीकरणको युद्धमा पृथ्वीनारायण शाहले 1819 विक्रम सम्वतमा मकवानपुरको दरबारमा हमला गरिसकेपछि अन्तिम राजा पृथ्वीनारायण शाहका जेठान दिग्बन्धन सेन, उनका मन्त्री कनकनीति बानिया यी लगायत उनका श्रीमतीहरू अब गोर्खालीले हमला गर्छ भन्ने कुरा उनको थाहा थियो। अनि राजाका अब रानीहरू, छोरीहरू, महिला, केटाकेटीलाई पहिला नै हरिहरपुर गढी पठाइसकेका थियो, हरिहरपुर दरबार कोटमा पठाइसकेका थियो।
हरिहरपुर गढी वरिपरि सेना बस्ने ब्यारेक, देवी देवताका साना ठुला मन्दिरहरू र अलि तलतिर बाक्लै बस्तीहरू थिए भन्ने इतिहास सुन्न पाइन्छ। एक थरीको इतिहास अनुसार राजाहरू लोहन सेन, राघव सेन, हरिहर इन्द्र सेनले यो कोट बनाए। उनकै नामबाट हरिहरपुर कोट नाम राखिएको थियो भन्ने समेत सुन्न पाइन्छ। अर्का थरी अनुसार सोही समयमा सिमरोनगढका राजा हरि सिंह देव थिए। उनले यो गढी निर्माण गर्न लगाएकोले यो गढीको नाम हरिहरपुर गढी रहन गएको भन्ने भनाइरहेको छ। तत्कालीन सिमरोनगढ राज्यका कला, संस्कृति तथा अन्य भौतिक सम्पन्नताले निकै वैभवशाली भएको पाइन्छ। विक्रम सम्वत 1381 मा सिम्रौनगढका राजा हरि सिंह देव थिए। यी राजा ठाकुर वंशका थिए। विक्रम सम्वत 1381 मा दिल्लीका मुसलमान गयासुद्दीन तुगलकले यस सिम्रौनगढ राज्यमा भीषण आक्रमण गरेको थियो। आक्रमणमा राज्य ध्वस्त बनाइएपछि राजा हरिसिंह देव आफ्नी रानी देवल देवी तथा राजकुमार र विद्वान मन्त्री चण्डेश्वर सहित भागेर नजिकैको पहाडमा लुकेर बसेको र आफ्नो राज्य जोगाउन सफल भएको इतिहास सुन्न पाइन्छ। सिन्धुली जिल्लाको तीनपाटन भन्ने स्थानमा हरिसिंह देवको मृत्यु भएको कुरा इतिहासकारहरू बताउँछन्। इतिहासकार लुजियानो पेटेकले हरिसिंह देवको मृत्यु टीपाट भन्ने स्थानमा पुगेर भएको भनेका छन्। यो टीपाट भन्ने स्थान नै हालको तीनपाटन हो। राजा हरिसिंह देवले सुरक्षित रहन बनाएको भएर यो किल्लालाई हरिसिंहपुर गढीको नामले चिनिन गएको एक थरीको भनाइ रहिआएको छ। राजा हरिसिंह देवले मन्त्री चण्डेश्वरको सल्लाह बमोजिम त्यही स्थानमा सानो किल्ला बनाई रहन थाले। पछि सिम्रौनगढका विद्वानहरू, साधुहरू, कलाकारहरू, कालीगढहरू पनि हरिसिंह देव भएकै ठाउँमा रहन थाल्नाले हरिसिंह देवले स्थापना गरेको त्यो सानो किल्ला एउटा राज्यको रूप लिने अवस्थामा पुग्यो। पछि यो किल्लालाई राजा हरिसिंह देवकै नामबाट हरिहरपुर गढी भनेर चिनिन थालिएको हो। पछि पश्चिम नेपाल तर्फबाट मुकुन्द सेन नाम गरेको योद्धाले ठूलो फौजको नेतृत्व गरेर हरिहरपुर गढी कब्जा गरेका थिए। पछि ती मुकुन्द सेनले आफ्नै नामबाट राजधानी मुकुन्दपुर बनाए शासन सञ्चालन गर्न थाले। तत्कालीन मुकुन्दपुर राज्यको नामबाट नै हालको मकवानपुर नाम रहन गएको हो।
अब यो कसले बनायो भन्ने कुरामा दुईटा कुराहरू छ। एउटा चाहिँ सिम्रौनगढका राजा कर्णाट वंशी राजा हरिहर सिंहदेवले बनाएको हो भन्छन्। अब यो यदि हरिहर सिंहदेवले बनाएको हो भने यसको यो गढीको उमेर चाहिँ 650 वर्ष जति भयो र त्यसो नहुँदाखेरि यो मकवानपुर राज्यका राजा हरिहर सेनले बनाएको हो भन्दाखेरि चाहिँ हरिहर सेनले बनाएको गढी चाहिँ बढ्दा चाहिँ त्यो ऊ देखिन्छ, प्रमाणित देखिन्छ। किनभने तपाईँले मकवानपुर गढीको रूप त्यसपछि तपाईँले चाहिँ यो हरिहरपुर गढीको रूप हेर्नुभयो भनेदेखि यो चाहिँ अलमोस्ट एउटै छ। भनेपछि मकवानपुर त हरिहर सेन राजाको हो, हरिहरपुर गढीमा पनि त्यस्तै किसिमको गढी बन्नुको मतलब चाहिँ के छ भने यो एउटै राजाले निर्माण एउटै राजाको पालामा एउटै कालीगढीले बनाएको हो भन्ने कुरो चाहिँ प्रमाणित हुन्छ। त्यसो हुनाले हामी चाहिँ हरिहर सेनले बनाएको भन्ने मान्छौँ। हरिहरपुर गढी एकदम कलात्मक छ किनभने गढीको दुईटा विशेषता हुन्छ। एउटा रम्पार्ट हुन्छ, एउटा मोट भन्छ क्या, दुईटा अङ्ग्रेजी हुन्। रम्पार्ट भनेको चाहिँ गढीबाट माथिबाट शत्रुहरूको गतिविधि हेर्ने रम्पार्ट भयो। अब मोट चाहिँ कस्तो हुन्छ भनेदेखि शत्रुहरूलाई चाहिँ सर्टेन ठाउँभित्र आउन नदिनको लागि चाहिँ खाल्टो खनिन्छ वरिपरि है। त्यो दुई खाले गढी हुन्छ। यो हरिहरपुर गढी चाहिँ तपाईँलाई दुईटै छ, यो रम्पार्ट पनि हो र यो मोट पनि हो। यो चारैतिर पोलिगोनलमा धेरैवटा चाहिँ भुजा भएको जस्तो चाहिँ एउटा ठुलो स्पेस छ। त्यो स्पेसको चाहिँ साइडमा चाहिँ मोटहरू भनेको खाडीहरू खनिएको छ र त्यो खाडीमा अहिले तपाईँले हेर्नुभयो भनेदेखि त्यो खाडीमा पानी भरिदिइसकेपछि र त्यो खाडीको बिचको पुल हटाइदिइसकेपछि शत्रुहरू चाहिँ मेन त्यो गर्भगृहमा चाहिँ त्यो मेन चाहिँ ठाउँमा चाहिँ त्यो अलि रणनीतिक हिसाबले महत्त्वपूर्ण ठाउँमा चाहिँ त्यो आउन नसक्ने गरी बनाएको छ।
नेपाल एकीकरणका अभियानमा राजा पृथ्वीनारायण शाहले सिन्धुली गढी सँगसँगै हरिहरपुर गढीमा 300 बढी गोर्खा फौजलाई तैनाथ गरिएको समेत इतिहास रहिआएको छ। गोर्खाली राजा पृथ्वीनारायण शाहको नेतृत्व र उपस्थितिमा विक्रम सम्वत 1819 पुस 22 गते भएको एकीकरण लडाईँमा यो गढी तत्कालीन गोर्खा राज्यमा एकीकृत भयो। यसै गरी चितवनको परेवा कोट गढीमा पनि नेपाली सेनाको अर्को टोलीले हमला गरी विजय हासिल गरेको थियो। सन् 1767 मा काठमाडौँमा लडाईँ गर्न आएको ब्रिटिस सेनालाई तत्कालीन गोर्खाली सेनाले सिन्धुली गढीमा परास्त गरेर भारत तर्फ फर्काएको थियो। गोर्खाली सेना र ब्रिटिस सेना बीच भएको त्यो लडाईँ गोर्खाली सेनाको विजयको रूपमा स्थापित हुन पुग्यो।
राति चाहिँ यो एक खालको ह्युमिलेसन हो, यो एक खालको चाहिँ यो चाहिँ अपमान गरेको हो। तपाईँलाई दरबारमै दिनुपर्छ, यो सहायक दरबारमा यति पर ल्याएर यो हरिहरपुर गढीमा राख्नुको मतलब चाहिँ तपाईँमाथि अपमान हो भनिसकेपछि पृथ्वीनारायण शाह चाहिँ त्यहीँबाट चाहिँ एकदम चाहिँ उनीहरूको कुरा सुनिसकेपछि त्यहीँबाट रिसाएर निस्किए होइन। निस्किएपछि वास्तवमा उनमा चाहिँ त्यो अब म यो मकवानपुर राज्यलाई पनि मैले कुनै पनि बेला मैले एकीकरणमा म यसलाई चाहिँ म आफ्नै गोर्खाभित्रै म मिसाउँछु भन्ने उनले अठोट गरे। तर त्यतिखेर एउटा त्यो भद्र राजा हुनुहुन्थ्यो, उहाँको ससुरा हेमकर्णसेन हुनुहुन्थ्यो होइन। अब हेमकर्णसेन हुँदै त उहाँले केही गर्न सक्नु भएन। तर पछाडि दिग्बन्धन सेन राजा भइसकेपछि विक्रम सम्वत 1819मा चाहिँ त्यो मकवानपुर राज्य चाहिँ एकीकरण भयो, गोर्खामा एकीकरण भयो। र गोर्खामा पनि एकीकरण हुँदा पनि अहिले तपाईँले जहाँ छायाङ्कन गर्न गइरहनु भएको छ त्यो हरिहरपुर गढीको एकदम ठुलो भूमिका छ। त्यहाँबाट मकवानपुर राज्यबाट भागेर तत्कालीन राजा र भनौँ न दिग्बन्धन सेन र मन्त्री कनकसिंह बानिया चाहिँ भागेर हरिहरपुर गढीमा लुकेर बसेका थिए। त्यो हरिहरपुर गढीमा पनि गोर्खाले राइड गरिसक्यो, गोर्खालीहरूले चाहिँ त्यहाँ पनि चाहिँ युद्ध गरिसक्यो। उनीहरू भागेर उनीहरू चाहिँ नजिकैको अवध राज्यतिर मीर कासिमसँग चाहिँ सहयोग माग्न जानु भएको थियो त्यतिखेर। भनेपछि नेपाल एकीकरण सन्दर्भमा पनि त्यो अन्तिम पटकको लडाइँ भएको ठाउँ चाहिँ त्यो हाम्रो मकवानपुर राज्यलाई जोड्ने क्रममा चाहिँ अन्तिम पटक भएको ठाउँ पनि हाम्रो हरिहरपुर गढी नै हो।
एकीकरण गर्दै अगाडि बढिरहेको गोर्खाली शक्ति विरुद्ध कान्तिपुरका राजा जयप्रकाश मल्ल विदेशी शक्तिको खोजीमा थिए। उनले बेतियामा रहेका ब्रिटिश काउन्सिलर ग्लाडिङलाई ब्रिटिश ईस्ट इन्डिया कम्पनी सरकारबाट आपतकालीन सहायताको लागि आग्रह गरे। गोर्खाली राजा पृथ्वी नारायण शाहले नेपालको आन्तरिक मामिला भएको र यसमा बाह्य हस्तक्षेप नगर्न चिठी लेखे। तर कम्पनी तर्फको सरकारले पृथ्वी नारायणको आग्रहलाई अस्वीकार गर्दै कप्तान जर्ज किनलकको नेतृत्वमा 2400 सेना तथा सहयोगी समूहका साथ नेपाल आक्रमणको लागि ब्रिटिश ईस्ट इन्डिया कम्पनी सरकारले खटाएको भनाई इतिहासमा भेटिन्छ। किनलक पटनाबाट 17 अगस्त 1967 मा हिँडे। तर जब उनीहरू ढुङ्ग्रे बासबाट सिन्धुली गढीको लागि अघि बढ्दै थिए, नेपाली सैन्य टोलीहरूले अगाडि र पछाडि दुवैतिरबाट आकस्मिक आक्रमण गरे। किनलकका थुप्रै सेना मारिन पुगे। पछि 1600 जति घाइते सेना लिएर जनकपुरतिर फर्के र उनले अर्को आक्रमण बागमती नदीको किनार गर्ने योजना बनाए र निशान हरिहरपुर गढीलाई बनाउने निधो गरे। उनका 700 सेना घाइते थिए, तर पनि उनको दोस्रो सैनिक अभियान 20 सेप्टेम्बर सन् 1767 मा हरिहरपुर गढीका लागि सुरु भयो।
अब यो सिन्धुली गढी चाहिँ आजभन्दा 256 वर्ष अगाडि को यो इतिहास हो। यसमा चाहिँ इस्ट इन्डिया कम्पनीले चाहिँ जयप्रकाश मल्ललाई, काठमाडौँको राजा जयप्रकाश मल्ललाई मद्दतको रूपमा चाहिँ आएको थियो। त्यो बेला चाहिँ पृथ्वीनारायण शाहको चाहिँ युनिफिकेसन क्याम्पेन चलिरहेको थियो। जयप्रकाश मल्ल डराएर इस्ट इन्डिया कम्पनीसँग ट्रुस माग्यो। त्यो बेला यो ठाउँमा लडाइँ लड्दाखेरि चाहिँ पृथ्वीनारायण शाहले पठाउनु भएको वंश गुरुङ, वंशराज पाण्डे, श्रीभद्र उपाध्याय त्यति बेलाका कमान्डरहरू थिए। त्यो बेला 500 चान्चुन गोर्खाली फौजले 3500 4000 इस्ट इन्डिया कम्पनीको फौजले चाहिँ हराएको ठाउँ हो यो। यद्यपि त्यो समयमा इस्ट इन्डिया कम्पनी काठमाडौँ छिरेको भए आज नेपाल रहन्थ्यो रहन्थेन भन्ने कुरामा पनि प्रश्न चिन्ह रहन्छ। त्यसकारण यो गढीको चाहिँ आफ्नो इतिहास छ। र त्यो बेलामा वंशराज पाण्डे मेन कमान्डर, उनले यो सबै यो ठाउँमा चाहिँ नि एउटा फल्स फ्रन्ट्रेज बनाएर यहाँ जस्तो जनावरहरूमा गाई गोरु भेडा सबैमा चाहिँ नि यो सिङहरूमा होइन ढुङ्ग्रो बालेर एउटा फल्स फ्रन्ट्रेज बनाएर देखाएको थियो। यद्यपि त्यो बेला तत्कालीन गोर्खाली फौजमा 500 चान्चुन मात्र ट्रुप्स थियो। अब त्यो बेला चाहिँ नि तिनीहरूलाई यही यो पौवा गढीबाट आक्रमण गरेर उनीहरूलाई परास्त गरे, हराए। त्यो बेला क्याप्टेन किनलोक चाहिँ नि घाइते भयो, परिङ्गाले टोकेर भने अरू कप्तानहरू चाहिँ अन द स्पटै डेड भएको थियो। अनि त्यसलाई चाहिँ बनारसमा गएर क्याप्टेन किनलोक चाहिँ मरे भन्ने छ। उसले पनि आफ्नो क्याप्टेन किनलोकले लेखेको इतिहासहरू पनि, उसले लेखेको इतिहास पनि अब हाम्रै थम्बेलतिर पनि त्यो किताबहरू पनि पढ्न पाइन्छ। भनेपछि यो गढीको धेरै महत्त्व छ। र यद्यपि यो गढीमा गोर्खाली सेनाले हारेको भए नेपाल रहन्थेन भन्ने चाहिँ प्रश्न चिन्ह रहेछ। त्यसको महत्त्व छ।
पृथ्वीनारायण शाहले हरिहरपुर गढीको सुरक्षाको लागि रामकृष्ण कुँवरलाई तैनात गरेका थिए। जब किनलक गोर्खाली फौज नभएको बेला हरिहरपुर गढीमा पाइला टेक्न पुगे, त्यतिखेर किनलकले हरिहरपुर गढी किल्ला डाँडाको टुप्पोमा भएको र राम्रा इँटहरूले बनेको पाएका थिए। त्यो गढीको कुना कुनामा ढुङ्गा हाल्नको लागि ठाउँ बनाइएको थियो। गढीको बीचमा ठूलो इँटको दरबार दरबार थियो, जसलाई उनले मकवानी राजाले आफू बस्नको लागि बनाएको होला भने अनुमान गरेका थिए। दरबार नजिकै भीमसेनको मन्दिर थियो र छेउमै हस्ती हाडले बनेको खम्बामा विभत्स रूपले सर्पको टाउको कुँदेको देखेका थिए। यति धेरै वास्तुकलाहरूले सुसज्जित हरिहरपुर गढीमा आज भग्नावशेष बाहेक अन्य चीजहरू छैनन्। हरिहरपुर गढीमा गोर्खाली फौज तैनाथ थिएनन्। रामकृष्ण कुँवरको नेतृत्वको गोर्खाली सेना हरिहरपुर गढी भन्दा उत्तरतिरको डाँडामा रहेका थिए। त्यस डाँडामा कम्पनीका सैनिक पुग्ने प्रयास गरे पनि सफल भएनन्। सिन्धुलीको लडाईँबाट हारेर भागेका अंग्रेज क्याप्टेन किनलकको फौज पुनर्गठन भई बागमतीबाट यो गढी हुँदै काठमाडौँ अर्थात् कान्तिपुरतिर बढ्दै गर्दा यही क्षेत्रमा फेरि पनि नेपाली सेनाले हमला गरी हराएको थियो। अंग्रेज फौजको अगाडिको टोली यो गढी भन्दा करिब 2 किलोमिटर उत्तरसम्म पुगेकोमा नेपाली सेना र त्यहाँका जनताले समेत ती अंग्रेजलाई काटेर भगाएको समेत इतिहासमा उल्लेख भएको पाइन्छ। सोही कारणले सो ठाउँलाई जितपुर नाम राखियो। अंग्रेज विरुद्ध लडाईँ जितेको ठाउँको रूपमा परिचित उक्त स्थानमा विजय स्मारक समेत बनाइएको छ। त्यसपछि किनलक कान्तिपुर अभियानलाई त्याग्न बाध्य भए र उनी फर्किएको भनाई विभिन्न लेखहरूमा समेत भेट्न सकिन्छ।
मकवानपुरको राजा पनि भाग्ने कुरा त आएन, त्यहाँ ठुलो लडाईँ हुन्छ। पृथ्वीनारायण शाह आफ्नै जेठान त्यहाँ हारिसकेपछि दिग्बन्धन सिंह राजा, उनका मन्त्री फेरि र सेना त्यहाँबाट भागेर कहाँ गए त? हरिहरपुर कोटमा गए, जुन हामी गढी भनिरहेछौँ। त्यहाँ 4-5 महिना बसिसकेपछि मात्रै अनि पृथ्वीनारायण शाहले फेरि यताबाट तपाईँको यो धुलीखेलपट्टिबाट यो चाहिँ यो तिमालकोट, कोटतिमाल भन्ने तपाईँले सुन्नु भएको छ, तिमालकोट कोटतिमाल, हामी भकुण्डोबेसीबाट पूर्वतिर लाग्यौँ भने एउटा बाटो जान्छ, त्यसलाई तिमालकोट पनि भन्छ, कोटतिमाल। त्यहाँ ठुलो लडाइँ हुन्छ, त्यहाँ धेरै 1 महिना लडाइँ हुन्छ त्यो जित्नलाई। त्यसपछि सिन्धुली गढीमा लडाइँ हुन्छ हाम्रो 2 चोटि। आज सिन्धुली गढीकोमा जित्छ, 3 दिनपछि फेरि उसको सेनाले फेरि हराउँछ गोर्खाले। पृथ्वीनारायण शाह आफै गर्छन् त्यसपछि आएर 3 दिनपछि आएर त्यो सिन्धुली गढी जिते। त्यसको 2 दिनपछि त्यहाँबाट हरिहरपुर गरेको दरबार पुग्छन् उनी कोटमा। पृथ्वीनारायण शाह आफू अगाडि बसेर हरिहरपुरमा ठुलो लडाइँ हुन्छ र हरिहरपुरको लडाइँमा अब हार्यो, फेरि मकवानपुर सेना हार्यो, राजा भागे, खुडाघाटपट्टि भागे।
किनलक सहितको फौजलाई खाद्यान्नको जिम्मा लिएका जनकपुरका दानदेव चौधरीले समेत गोर्खाली फौजलाई साथ दिएपछि बिरामी परेका किनलक पटना फर्के र उतै देहत्याग गरेको इतिहास रहिआएको छ। यो हरिहरपुर गढीमा मकवानपुरका युवराजसँग खटपट भएको करिब 23 वर्षपछि सोही स्थानमा नै विशाल मकवानपुर राज्यले गोर्खा फौजसँग हार खायो। यसरी नेपालको एकीकरणको अभियानलाई सिन्धुलीको हरिहरपुर गढी क्षेत्रले ठूलो योगदान गरेको इतिहास अझै जीवित रहेको छ। नेपाल अंग्रेज युद्धको दोस्रो चरणमा मेजर जनरल डेभिड अक्टर लोनीको डिभिजनले हरिहरपुर गढी र मकवानपुर दरबार क्षेत्र 2 ठाउँबाट हमला गर्न अगाडि बढेकोमा यो गढीमा पहिला लडाईँ सुरु भएको थियो। अंग्रेज कर्णेलहरू कर्णेल केली र कर्णेल होलले 16 फेब्रुअरी सन् 1915 मा 2 तिरबाट यो गढीमा हमला गर्दा नेपाली सेनाको हार भयो। यो लडाईँ नेपालीले हार्ना साथ नेपालले सुगौली सन्धि गर्न प्रस्ताव पठायो र 2 डिसेम्बर सन् 1816 मा सुगौली सन्धि भयो। त्यसपछि नेपाल अंग्रेज युद्ध अन्त भएको थियो। नेपाल अंग्रेज युद्धको यो अन्तिम लडाईँ समेत थियो। तोप प्रहारको उद्देश्य राखी तयार पारिएको गढीको मध्यभागमा दरबार रहेको छ। आपतकालीन अवस्थाको लागि पानी सञ्चित गर्न बनाइएको ट्याङ्की समेत प्रष्टै देख्न सकिन्छ।
त्यहाँ चाहिँ ठुल्ठुला ढुङ्गाका चाहिँ शिलाहरू कुदेर, हैन, त्यो ढुङ्गा तपाईँ यत्र तत्र तपाईँले पाउनुहुन्न। त्यहाँ चाहिँ हजारको संख्यामा त्यस्ता ढुङ्गाहरू छन्। त्यो ढुङ्गालाई चाहिँ कुदेर मिलाएर एकदम राम्रोसँग पर्खाल बनाएको छ। अत्यन्त प्रोटेक्टिभ वाल त्यहाँको तपाईँले हेर्नुभयो भनेदेखि त्यो चाहिँ एकदम त्यो अहिले पनि मलाई अहिलेको मिलिटरी चान्चुने मिलिटरी आक्रमणबाट पनि त्यो केही हुनेवाला छैन, त्यस्तो किसिमको छ। र खास गरी अब त्यहाँ चाहिँ सिन्धुली गढीमा चाहिँ यो जब इस्ट इन्डिया कम्पनीको सेना हारिसकेपछि क्याप्टेन किनलोकले हरिहरपुर गढीबाट चाहिँ काठमाडौँतिर जान्छु भनेर हरिहरपुर गढीतिर गए। त्यसपछि हाम्रो चाहिँ जङ्गबहादुरको चाहिँ जिजु हजुरबा हजुरबाको पनि हजुरबा चाहिँ रामकृष्ण कुँवरको तैनाथीमा चाहिँ 300-400 गोर्खाली फौजहरू चाहिँ लगेर त्यहाँ एउटा चाहिँ जितपुर भन्ने ठाउँ छ, जितपुरको डाँडामा चाहिँ राखिसकेका थिए। क्याप्टेन किल्लोक चाहिँ काठमाडौँ पस्नको लागि हरिहरपुर गढीमा रात बिताए। त्यतिखेर उनी धेरै बिरामी भइसकेका थिए। हरिहरपुर गढीमै फेरि त्यहाँ एउटा शक्ति छ, हरिहरपुर गढीमै पनि त्यो इस्ट इन्डिया कम्पनीका सेनाहरू बिच चाहिँ विद्रोह भयो। आफू बिरामी पनि भयो, यता सेनाको पनि विद्रोह भइसकेपछि उनले अनि काठमाडौँ जानको लागि बाटोमा रामकृष्ण कुँवरको नेतृत्वमा गोर्खाली फौज पनि भइसकेपछि उनी हतोत्साही भइसकेपछि त्यहाँबाट उनले चाहिँ के गरे, काठमाडौँ जानलाई चाहिँ उनले चाहिँ त्यहाँबाट छोडे। काठमाडौँ जान सकेन, त्यसरी फर्किएर आए र त्यो फर्किएर आएको हरिहरपुर गढीबाट जब त्यो क्याप्टेन इस्ट इन्डिया कम्पनीको सेना फर्कियो, त्यो फर्किँदा फेरि तर त्यतिखेर ढिलो चाँडो चाहिँ ब्रिटिस इस्ट इन्डिया कम्पनी चाहिँ हारेको कुरो अमेरिकी स्वतन्त्रता सङ्ग्राममा पनि त्यो कुरो चाहिँ रिफ्लेक्ट भयो।
गढी प्रवेशद्वारमा अहिले काठको पुल जस्तो भए पनि गढी सञ्चालनको बेला यसमा फलामको ढोका रहेको थियो। ढोका खुल्दा सोही ढोका नै पुल बनेर आवत जावत गर्न सकिन्थ्यो भने ढोका बन्द हुँदा सो बाटो बन्द हुन्थ्यो र आवत जावत गर्न सकिँदैन थियो। मकवानपुरको राजाको वैकल्पिक गढीको रूपमा चिनिने हरिहरपुर गढी किल्ला संरक्षणमा राज्यले समेत चासो देखाएको छ। हरिहरपुर गढी नेपाल र नेपालीका लागि गौरव र प्रतिष्ठाको धुरी हो। दुश्मनले पाइला टेक्न खोज्दा गोर्खाली सेनाले शिर छेदन गरी विजय प्राप्त गरेको इतिहास अझै जीवित नै छ। रणनीतिक महत्व बोकेका यी गढी अनि ऐतिहासिक सैन्य धरोहरमा त्यतिखेर कोरेर बनाइएका ढुङ्गाहरू मूर्तिहरू देख्न सकिन्छ। पुरातात्विक महत्व बोकेको यो गढीको करिब 80% भाग सुरक्षित रहेको देख्न सकिन्छ।
गढी देख्ने बित्तिकै कुनै पनि मान्छेले नेपालको राजनीति, नेपालको सामाजिक एकीकरणका कुराहरूलाई त्यो आफूलाई त्यति रुचि नराख्ने मान्छे पनि यदि त्यो ठाउँमा गएर त्यो स्ट्रक्चर देख्यो भनेदेखि उसले चाहिँ एकपल्ट आफूलाई रिकल गर्छ। मेरो पुर्खाहरूले बिना सिद्धिमा बिना चाहिँ त्यो स्वार्थमा राष्ट्रको लागि यसरी गरेका रहेछन्। राष्ट्रसँग त राज्यसँग त त्यतिखेर पनि चुनौती त रहेछ। त्यो चुनौती चाहिँ कुनै अलौकिक शक्तिले, कुनै विदेशी शक्तिले चाहिँ त्यो सामना गर्दैन। त्यो सामना गर्नुपर्ने चाहिँ त्यही व्यक्ति नै रहेछ, त्यही देशको सब्जेक्ट नै रहेछ, त्यही देशको जनता नै रहेछ भनेपछि मेरो पुर्खाले पनि यति कुरो चाहिँ हाम्रो पुर्खाले पनि यति कुरा यत्रो चाहिँ स्ट्रक्चर बनाउन सक्दा रहेछन् भने हाम्रो योगदान त केही पनि रहन्छ अहिले राष्ट्रको लागि, राष्ट्र निर्माणको लागि भन्ने कुरो चाहिँ उसले त्यो फिलिङ गर्छ। अलिकति त्यहाँ जाने बित्तिकै उसको नेसनलिस्टिक फरवर्ड भन्छ नि, त्यो खालको चाहिँ उसलाई त्यो आउँछ। त्यो अहिले पनि आउँछ।
पाल्पाली राजा मुकुन्द सेनका छोराहरूले राज्य बाँडफाँड गर्दा छोरा लोहङ सेनले नारायणी पूर्वतर्फ राज्य बढाउँदै गएको र पछि त्यही क्षेत्रको राजा भएको इतिहास समेत रहिआएको छ। लोहङ सेनका नाति भनिने हरिहर इन्द्र सेनको नामबाट यो गढी बनाइएको हो भन्ने इतिहास समेत सुन्न पाइन्छ। यो हरिहरपुर गढीबाट राजधानी काठमाडौँ जोड्ने 2वटा बाटो रहेका छन्। काठमाडौँ जोड्ने सबैभन्दा छोटो बाटोको रूपमा यस गढीलाई लिन सकिन्छ। सेन राजाको पालामा यो गढी हुँदै चिसा पानीतर्फ गयो भने काठमाडौँको थानकोटतिर पुगिन्थ्यो भने अर्को बाटो बागमती किनार हुँदै गयो भने काठमाडौँ छोटो दूरीमा पुगिन्थ्यो। भारतबाट कान्तिपुर जोड्ने छोटो बाटोको रूपमा समेत यसलाई लिइन्थ्यो। 1819 सालमा मकवानपुरको राज्यमाथि राजा पृथ्वीनारायण शाहको नेतृत्वको फौजबाट हमला भएको इतिहासमा देख्न सकिन्छ। गोर्खाली फौजहरू हमलाबाट दिग्बन्धन सेनको हार भएको थियो। गढी संरक्षण एवं सम्वर्धनमा हरिहरपुर गढी गाउँपालिकाले पनि ध्यान दिएको पाइन्छ। सोही गढीको नामबाट नामाकरण गरिएको गाउँपालिकाले रणनीतिक इतिहास बोकेको यो किल्ला संरक्षणमा विभिन्न कार्यक्रमहरू सञ्चालन गरेको छ। यो गढीमा गाउँपालिका स्तरीय कार्यक्रम सञ्चालन गर्नुका साथै गढीको भग्नावशेष जोगाउन पूर्वाधार कार्यक्रमहरू समेत राख्दै आइरहेको छ।
यो हरिहरपुर गढी किल्ला जुन छ त्यो 2200-2400 राज्यको पालामा एउटा किल्लाको रूपमा एउटा राजा हरिहर सेन भन्ने राजाले चाहिँ शासन गरेको अवस्था रहेछ र यो किल्लाले पछि अङ्ग्रेजहरूसँग चाहिँ लड्ने क्रममा यो किल्लाले महत्त्वपूर्ण भूमिका खेलेको रहेछ। यो सिन्धुली गढीसँगको लडाइँ पछाडि अङ्ग्रेजको क्याप्टेन किल्लकको ग्रुपले फेरि यहाँ आक्रमण गरेको रहेछ। त्यो आक्रमणलाई पनि यहाँबाट विफल बनाएर पठाएको जुन विजय किल्ला भन्ने छ, त्यो विजय किल्ला चाहिँ हरिहरपुरको विजय किल्ला चाहिँ हरिहरपुरबाट प्रवेश गरिसकेपछि विजय किल्लाबाट 1 किलोमिटर माथिको चाहिँ महाभारत रेन्जमा पुगिसके पछाडि त्यहाँबाट चाहिँ धपाउन हाम्रो नेपाली सेनाहरू गोर्खाली सेनाहरू सफल भएको। पहिलो त हरिहरपुर 2224 राज्य हुँदा एउटा राज्य थियो। पछि चाहिँ एकीकृत भइसके पछाडि पनि अङ्ग्रेजहरूसँग लडाइँ लड्दाखेरि विजय प्राप्त गरेको किल्लाको रूपमा यहाँ चिनारी सुनिन्छ। विशेष गरी किल्ला हो, त्यो किल्ला चाहिँ पुरानो शासकहरूले राम्रो ठाउँमा बनाएको रहेछ। मानिलिउँ भौगोलिक रूपले चाहिँ हामीले मकानपुरलाई तलतिर मधेसको फाँटलाई र मास्तिर हिमाली महाभारतको रेन्ज हिमालको टुप्पो देख्न सकिन्छ। जताततै चारैतिर पूर्व मेचीदेखि पश्चिम महाकाली उत्तर दक्षिण पूर्व पश्चिम सबै क्षेत्रमा हेर्ने एउटा टापुको रूपमा रहेछ। त्यो चाहिँ सुरक्षित स्थान हो जहाँ वैरीहरूले आक्रमण गर्न नसकिने ठाउँ हो। त्यसैले त्यो रमणीय ठाउँ छ। त्यो रमणीय ठाउँलाई हामीले संरक्षण र सम्वर्धन गरिराख्यो भने पर्यटकीय क्षेत्रको लागि धेरै ठुलो कुरा हो। यो हरिहरपुरको गौरवको स्थल हो। त्यो
काठमाडौँबाट हेटौडा पुगेपछि हेटौडा हुँदै मदन भण्डारी पथमा करिब 55 किलोमिटरको यात्रापछि गढी प्रवेश गर्ने सहायक बाटो भेटिन्छ। यस्तै काठमाडौँबाट सिन्धुली गढी पुगेपछि सोही मदन भण्डारी पथबाट करिब 60 किलोमिटरको यात्रापछि गढी जाने बाटोमा पुग्न सकिन्छ। त्यसपछि करिब 8 किलोमिटरको दूरीमा यो हरिहरपुर गढी पर्दछ। महाभारत पर्वत श्रृङ्खला सँगै रहेको यो गढी वरिपरि घना वन जंगलले घेरिएको छ भने दक्षिणपट्टि चुरे क्षेत्र तथा मानव बस्ती लगायत कृषि योग्य फाँटहरू रहेका छन्। हरिहरपुर घुम्ने आन्तरिक तथा बाह्य पर्यटकहरूले हरिहरपुर गढीसँगै हरिहरपुर गढीका सुनौला फाँटहरू समेत निहाल्न सक्नेछन्। यसै गरी धार्मिक तथा ऐतिहासिक स्थलहरूमा लोहा सुर मन्दिर, त्यही मन्दिर छेउमा रहेको प्राकृतिक पोखरीका साथै केही समयको यात्रापछि क्यान खोला तथा क्यान दहको समेत अवलोकन गर्न सकिन्छ। हाम्रा वीर पुर्खाहरूको रगत पसिना र अथक मेहनतबाट आर्जेको यो मुलुकको इतिहासलाई हामीले संरक्षण एवं सम्वर्धन गर्नु आवश्यक छ। यस्ता ऐतिहासिक तथा पुरातात्विक गढीहरूको संरक्षणले नयाँ पुस्तालाई विगतको बारे जानकारी पाउने अवसर दिनुका साथै पर्यटनमा पनि महत्वपूर्ण भूमिका निर्वाह गर्दछ। सभ्यताको उषा कालदेखि नै सुविख्यात नेपालीपन जीवन्त साक्षी यस्ता पुरातात्विक धरोहरको संरक्षण गर्दै भावी पुस्तालाई हस्तान्तरण गर्नु हामी सबैको दायित्व हो।
say that life is all connected, even the most remote of animals and humans all rose from this earth. But after years of life on land and sea, have we thought about how far these connections sustain? Deep within Sri Lanka lies Udavalava, nestled nearly 200 kilometers away from the bustling capital city of Colombo. Born out of the need for agriculture, the Udavalava Reservoir in the 1960s paved the way for elephants to find refuge in the area. The town of Udavalava is an extraordinary tapestry of society where the vibrant synergy of locals and wildlife flourishes. A town where a national park, agricultural land, an elephant transit home, and a community all exist in their harmony. As the sun rises over the serene Udavalava National Park, the people who call this place home embrace a livelihood intricately woven with nature's splendor. Resources are shared among the people of Udavalava and elephants alike. They thrive by building and trading monuments of culture around the world of elephants.
Today in the morning we make the safari, like 4 hours on the jeep, and it was actually really nice. We saw some elephants. We really enjoyed.
Among cherished traditions in Sri Lanka, passed down through generations, is the awe-inspiring Gajaga Vannama, a mesmerizing dance performance that showcases the elegant spirit of elephants, honoring their grace and power in Sri Lankan heritage. This is the elephant transit home called At Athuru Sevana, a haven that serves as a refuge for orphaned, injured, and malnourished elephants. This is where we found the enchanting tale of Namal.
දෙපාර්තමේන්තුවේ නිලධාරීන්ට හම්බෙලා තියෙන අම්පාර නාමල්ලෝය කියන ප්‍රදේශයේදී වැලක පැටලිලා තුවාල වෙලා ඉන්න පොඩි පැටියෙක් තමයි හම්බෙලා තියෙන කකුලේ ආබාධයෙන් හින්දා. උඩවල ඇත්තතුරු සෙවණට ගෙනල්ලා මෙයාව අර කකුලේ තුවාලේ වැඩි වෙන හින්දා මෙයාගේ ජීවිතේ බේර ගන්න තමයි මේ කකුල කපලා අයින් කරලා මෙයාට මේ කෘත්‍රිම කකුලක් හදලා දාලා උඩවල ඇත්තතුරු සෙවණේ බලාගන්න. අවුරුදු 13ක වයස වගේ ටිකක් වෙනස් සතෙක්. මෙයා ටිකක් අර සැරයි. ටිකක් සාමාන්‍ය අනිත් අයට වගේ එහෙම කිට්ටු වෙන්න අමාරු. උරු වෙච්ච එක්කෙනෙකුට දෙන්නෙකුට වගේ තමයි මෙයත් එක්ක ගනුදෙනු කරන්න පුළුවන්. ඩෝලව මේ ආශ්‍රිත ප්‍රදේශයට ලොකු සම්පතක්. මොකද මේ වගේ සතෙක් මුළු ලෝකේ කොහෙවත් නැහැ. මොන ජීවිත අවදානම හරි මොන දේ තිබ්බත් අර ගොඩක් මම කැමති මේ සතාව බලා ගන්න. මොකද මේ එහෙම කවුරුත් නැතුව ගියොත් මේ සතා තවත් අසරණ වෙනවනේ.
Like Namal, all these gentle giants receive the loving care and attention they so desperately need at this elephant transit home located close to the national park. While Namal flourishes under the watchful eyes of his caretakers, not too far away from the park, the battle for resources between elephants and humans looms.
වයින් නැති කාලෙට ඒ කියන්නේ පැවුම් කාලෙට අනිවාර්යෙන්ම එනවා වැඩි. ඒ වෙනකොට උන්ටක් කන්න දෙයක් නැහැ. ඉතින් උනුත් මේවට එනවා. කියන්නේ අපි ඉතින් එලවනවා. ඉතින් කරදරයක් වෙන්නේ නැහැ දැනුවත් වෙනා. උන්ටත් ඉතින් අපිත් උන් එලවනවා. උන් එනවා. ඉතින් වගාවල්ට පයින්නවා. දිගටම ඒක තමයි ඉතින් වෙන්නේ. 6 වෙනකොට 6 7 වෙනකොට අනිවාර්යෙන් බහිනෝමයි යලි මේවට. කොටු හිටවනවා කෙසෙල් ඔක්කොම ඉතින් කඩා කප්පල් වල දාලා උන්ගේ කැලේ වුණාට ඉතින් අපිත් ගොවිතැනක් කරගන්න මේකට ආවේ. ගොවිතැන් බතක් කරගෙන ඉතින් අපි ඉන්නෝට ඉතින් තරහයි ඉතින් මොනව කරන්නද? අලියා! අලියා!
In the face of these challenges, the transit home provided a glimmer of hope. The generous support and compassion of humans offered a lifeline to these magnificent beings.
ඇත්තතු සෙවන කියන එකේ තේමාවම ගත්තොත් යලිත් සිය නිජබිම් කරා පාන ගන්න කියන තේමාවට තමයි මේක ආරම්භ වුනේ. විශේෂයෙන් මානව ක්‍රියාකාරකම් සහ විවිධ ස්වභාවික සංසිද්ධීන් අනුව අවතැන් වෙන තුවාල වුණු අතරමං වුණු සත්තු අලිපැටව විශේෂයෙන් පුනරුත්ථාපනය කරන මධ්‍යස්ථානයක්. ඒකල යම්කිසි කාලයක් මේගොල්ලන්ගේ පෝෂණය, සෞඛ්‍ය විවිධ සමාජීය කටයුතු කරලා මේගොල්ලෝ නිසි වයස එළඹුණාන් පස්සේ මේගොල්ලෝ නැවත ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ නිජබිම් වලට ස්වභාවික පරිසරයට නිදහස් කිරීම තමයි මෙතන වෙන මූලික සංකල්පය.
Current societal changes, the cultural changes and the development changes has resulted in what we hear and the way we see things today in the present. Today the tourists come to see elephants in captive locations like Udawalawe. Now these relationships and these things being successful in Sri Lanka is because of development, and yet there is this feeling of sustainability in nature that Sri Lankan has, and therefore we feel the elephant as still part of our naturalness.
People help these gentle giants by fostering and even donating milk to the little elephants that find their way to this second home, ensuring that they are nurtured before joining the wilderness once again.
This is the first time, so the baby elephants are so cute.
Yes.
So cute, so many. I like elephants because they're very cute and we don't have elephants at home.
ජීවිතේ ප්‍රථම වතාවට තමයි මේ වගේ අත්දැකීමක් විඳින්න හම්බුනේ. ඒක තහඳ සුන්දර අත්දැකීමක්. මේ වගේ අලි කුඩා අලි පැටව දකින්න ලැබුණේ නම් ප්‍රථම වතාවට මෙහෙම ඒගොල්ලෝ කිරි බනවා, කෑම කනවා දකින්න ලැබිච්ච එක ඉතින් සුන්දර අත්දැකීමක් විඳින්න හම්බුණා.
The opportunities to see the wild animals and to be with nature and to be in nature is amazing. Absolutely amazing.
උඩවලවේ අලියා ඉන්න නිසා තමයි මේ හැම දෙයක්ම අපට ලැබිලා තියෙන්නේ. විශේෂයෙන්ම අලියා අපි කියනවා කීස්ටෝන් එකක්. එහෙම නැත්නම් එයා යතුරක්. ඒක ජාතික වනෝද්‍යානය තුළ සංරක්ෂිත භූමිය විතරක් නෙමෙයි අලියා යතුරු පෝරුවක් වෙන්නේ. අලියා සංරක්ෂිත ප්‍රදේශයෙන් පිට පරිබාහිර මේ ගම්මාන වලටත් මේ අලියා යතුරු පෝරුවක් කරනවා. මොකද මේ යතුරු කැරැල්ලේ ප්‍රධාන යතුර නැති වුණොත් මේ ගම වැටෙන්න පුළුවන්. විශේෂයෙන්ම ඍජු හා වක්‍ර රැකියාවල් 10000කට ආසන්න ප්‍රමාණයක් මේ වෙද්දි උඩවලව ආශ්‍රිතව උඩවලව ජාතික වනෝද්‍යානය ආශ්‍රිතව සංචාරක කර්මාන්තයට දායක වෙනවා.
And amidst the serene landscapes of the Udawalawa National Park, tourism flourishes. Visitors from around the world are welcomed to witness the grandeur of elephants in their natural habitat, forging a profound and everlasting connection with nature and Sri Lanka. Yet, the true essence of sustainability lies beyond the surface, entwined with the very existence of these gentle giants.
The national park's incredible. So many elephants. We saw the baby orphans this morning as well, which was amazing. Really, really cool. Yeah, just so much to see.
The prosperity of the people relies on the delicate balance created by the coexistence of humans and elephants. As the sun sets over the enchanting landscapes of Udawalawa, the resounding rhythm of the gentle giants prevails.
My first time, and it's like magnificent. These animals are so beautiful. Like crazy. We've seen hundreds of elephants.
The timeless tales of these elephants stand as a subtle reminder of how people and the gentle beasts alike can walk together. It symbolizes the power of sustainable tourism in Sri Lanka. It symbolizes the power of togetherness.
Nepal's anti-money laundering agency files case against former finance minister Paudel. Authorities allege $1.36 million asset laundering link. Nepal government forms talks team to address demands of loan shark victims, approves measures for managing contract employees. Nepal's provincial governments face fresh uncertainty. Congress-UML rift triggers a new coalition talks. Nepal's market prices climb despite inflation control pledges. Cheaper government stores struggle to attract shoppers. Delhi orphanage fire claims 11 lives in Algeria. Authorities probe cause. And Argentina stuns England, sets up World Cup final against Spain. Hello there, I'm Smita Gising Tamang. Welcome to NTV World News Hour. We're coming to you live from Kathmandu at 2200 hours Nepal time. Now the news in detail. Nepal's anti-money laundering authorities have filed a case at the special court against a former finance minister and CPN-UML vice chair Bishnu Paudel, accusing him of playing an alleged intermediary role in a money laundering case linked to businessman Deepak Bhatta. The Department of Money Laundering investigation has accused Paudel and 15 others of involvement in the alleged laundering of assets worth 209 million Nepali rupees, about $1.36 million US. According to a notice issued by Nepal's special court, investigators have sought the confiscation of 634,000 Nepali rupees, around $4,100, held in Paudel's bank account as part of the case. The case has been registered against 6 individuals and 10 companies, with authorities alleging that accused were involved in activities connected to the movement and concealment of illegally acquired assets. Paudel, a senior leader of Nepal's main Communist Party, has served as a finance minister and held other senior government positions. Nepal government has formed a high-level negotiation team to hold talks with those affected by usury lending, commonly known as loan sharking. The decision comes in a move aimed at addressing long-standing demands from victims. The cabinet today decided to establish the talks committee under the coordination of Pushkar Sapkota, Secretary at the Office of the Prime Minister and Council of Ministers. Minister for Information and Communications Dr. Bikram Thimalsina said government today approved measures for the management of employees currently serving under contractual service arrangements.
विभिन्न मन्त्रालयको संगठन संरचना र दरबन्दी स्वीकृति गर्ने, नीति अनुसन्धान प्रतिष्ठान विकास समिति गठन पहिलो संशोधन आदेश 2083 स्वीकृत गर्ने र सेवा करारमा कार्यरत कर्मचारीको व्यवस्थापन सम्बन्धी व्यवस्था स्वीकृत गर्ने।
Meanwhile, Nepal's usury victims have sent a 6-member negotiation team to Kathmandu in an effort to reach a final agreement with the government. The team, formed by the Loan Shark Victims Farmers Labour Movement, is led by its central chairman, Avades Kushwaha. Other members include senior representatives of the movement and allied rights groups. The delegation, which started its march from Janakpur, reached Bara 2 days ago. After holding 4 rounds of talks with the government in Nijgarh under the leadership of Home Minister Sudan Gurung, the protesters have now resumed their march towards Kathmandu. However, negotiations remain unresolved over the protesters' demand for a written agreement on their 6-point agenda, including legal action against illegal lenders and protection of victims' rights. Other victims gathered in Nijgarh are waiting for the outcome of the talks. Protesters have warned that their march for justice will continue unless a formal agreement is signed and implemented. Nepal's 7 provincial governments have entered a fresh political uncertainty after the Nepali Congress CPN-UML alliance collapsed. With no single party holding a majority in any province, political parties have started new negotiations to form governments. The constitution requires more than 50% support of the total provincial assembly members to secure a majority. The previous Congress-UML alliance had formed governments across all 7 provinces, but disagreements, especially over the budget in Sudur Paschim, led to the breakdown of the partnership. Now, parties are racing to build new coalitions as provincial power equations remain unsettled. We'll look deeper into this in our segment issue of the day later in the bulletin. Now, across Nepal, rising prices are putting growing pressure on household budgets. Despite repeated government promises to control inflation, consumers say the cost of everyday essentials continues to climb. Traders report that prices of basic goods have increased by 15 to 50% in recent months, while official data shows annual inflation has nearly doubled compared with the same period last year. Authorities blame higher transport costs and global fuel pressures, but ordinary Nepalese say they are struggling to afford daily necessities. As prices rise, cheaper government-run stores remain underused, leaving many consumers paying more in private markets. We'll bring more on this in our segment cover story of the day later in the bulletin. Now, 11 people, including children, have been killed and 19 others injured after a fire broke out at an orphanage near Algeria's capital, Algiers. The blaze erupted early Thursday at a children's care facility in a Mohammedia district, where residents and emergency crews rushed to the scene as smoke and flames engulfed parts of the building. Civil protection authorities said 10 of the injured suffered burns of varying severity, while 5 people with disabilities were evacuated to safety. Officials have not provided details about the victims' ages or confirmed the cause of the fire. Algerian authorities have expressed condolences to the families affected by the tragedy. The incident comes as Algeria experiences a heat wave, with emergency services battling hundreds of fires reported across the country in recent days. Defending champions Argentina have secured a place in the FIFA World Cup 2026 final after a dramatic 2-1 comeback win over England in the second semi-final at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. England took the lead through Anthony Gordon in the 55th minute, but Argentina responded late as Enzo Fernandez equalized with a long-range strike before Lautaro Martinez scored the decisive goal in stoppage time. Captain Lionel Messi starred for Argentina, providing assists for both goals and being named player of the match as the team reached its second consecutive World Cup final. Argentina will face Spain in the final on Monday, with kickoff scheduled for 12:45 a.m. Nepal time, after Spain defeated France 2-0 in the first semi-final. This will be the first World Cup final meeting between the two nations. Nepal's provincial governments are facing a fresh wave of political uncertainty after the alliance between Nepali Congress and CPN-UML began to fall apart. From Sudur Paschim to Karnali, Lumbini, Koshi and other provinces, coalition equations are being reshaped as parties negotiate new power arrangements. In today's issue of the day, we examine what triggered the political shakeup and what it means for Nepal's federal governments after this break. Welcome back. You're watching NTV World News Hour. And now we turn to our issue of the day. Nepal's Sudurpashchim province government has fallen into a minority after the CPN-UML withdrew its support from the coalition led by Chief Minister Kamal Bahadur Shah. The split follows a prolonged dispute over the provincial budget for the upcoming fiscal year, with the UML demanding amendments that the Chief Minister sought to bypass by moving ahead with its approval. Before the withdrawal, Chief Minister Shah dismissed 4 UML ministers from his cabinet after the party refused to soften its stance on the budget. The main opposition, CPN Maoist Centre, has also rejected the current budget and called on the chief ministers to step aside. A no-confidence motion has been filed against Karnali Province Chief Minister Yamalal Kadel, marking the latest political development in one of Nepal's 7 federal provinces. The motion was jointly registered by lawmakers from the CPN Maoist Centre and the Nepali Congress, with 16 members of the 40-seat Karnali Provincial Assembly backing the proposal. The move comes a day after Nepali Congress ministers resigned from the provincial government, although the party had initially not withdrawn its support to the coalition. Lawmakers backing the motion have nominated Jeevan Bahadur Shahi as the new chief minister under Article 188(5) of Nepal's constitution, which governs the formation of a provincial government when the incumbent loses majority support. Nepali Congress leaders in Nepal's Lumbini province have postponed a decision on the future of their participation in the provincial government, saying further consultations are needed amid evolving national political developments. The deliberations come as political observers speculate that the ruling alliance between Nepali Congress and the CPN-UML at the federal level could come to an end, potentially affecting provincial governments. In the 83-member Lumbini Provincial Assembly, no party or likely alliance currently has enough seats to form a majority on its own, making the support of smaller parties crucial. Despite the uncertainty, UML Provincial Chief Whip Yamuna Roka Tamang said the current governing coalition in Lumbini is unlikely to change in the immediate future. Political uncertainty is growing in Nepal's Gandaki province amid speculation that the Nepali Congress may end its governing alliance with CPN-UML. The prospect of a split has triggered discussions over how a new coalition government could be formed if the partnership collapses. Leaders from both parties have sought to address the situation, with UML Minister Govinda Nepali and Nepali Congress Minister Nanda Prasad Neupane commenting on the evolving political landscape. For now, no formal decision has been announced on changes to the governing coalition in Gandaki province. Bagmati province, one of Nepal's 7 federal provinces that includes the federal capital Kathmandu, has begun implementing a plan to reduce the number of provincial ministries from 14 to 8 as part of a government restructuring. The move had sparked speculation that the province's ruling coalition could change following recent political realignments in several of Nepal's other provinces. However, Chief Minister Indra Bahadur Bania said there will be no immediate change in the coalition, despite reports that ministers from the CPN-UML were considering resigning. The provincial government has yet to announce how ministerial portfolios will be redistributed under the new 8-ministry structure. Political tensions between Nepal's 2 largest parties, Nepali Congress and CPN-UML, have raised the prospect of changes in provincial governments after disagreements over a 2-year-old power-sharing agreement. The agreement had enabled the 2 parties to form coalition governments at both the federal and provincial levels, but recent developments in several provinces suggest the alliance is beginning to unravel. Despite the uncertainty, Madhesh Province Chief Minister Krishna Yadav said political disputes at the federal level have not affected his provincial government. UML Parliamentary Party leader Saroj Kumar Yadav also said the coalition in Madhesh remains stable, with the governing parties continuing to work by consensus. Nepal's Koshi province is facing growing political uncertainty as the governing alliance between CPN-UML and Nepali Congress appears close to collapsing amid wider political realignments at the federal level. Nepali Congress leaders in the province have decided not to withdraw their ministers immediately, opting instead to wait for guidance from the party's central leadership before deciding on the future of the coalition. Provincial Congress leader Uddhav Thapa said the party will explore possible new governing arrangements with the UML, the CPN Maoist Centre and other parties. In the 92-member Koshi Provincial Assembly, no single party has enough seats to form a government on its own, making coalition building essential to secure the 47-member majority required to govern. Political parties have begun fresh negotiations to form provincial governments after the Nepali Congress CPN UML understanding collapsed, putting governments in all 7 provinces under uncertainty. With no party holding an outright majority in any province, new coalition's equations are now essential, as the constitution requires the support of more than 50% of the total provincial assembly members to form a government. A report.
As differences between Nepali Congress and the CPN UML widen, governments in all 7 provinces have come under threat. Among the 7 provinces, governments in 6 provinces were formed solely through Nepali Congress CPN UML alliance. In Madhes province, besides the 2 major parties, Nepal Communist Party and the Tarai Madhes Lokatantrik Party were also coalition partners. However, after the parties failed to continue their previous agreement, a new political course has begun for government formation in all 7 provinces. Of the 7 provinces, Nepali Congress is the largest party in 6, while the CPN UML is the largest party only in Koshi province. During the Congress-UML alliance, they enjoyed a comfortable majority. If either of the 2 major parties remains outside the government, most provinces will require the support of almost all the parties represented in the provincial assembly to form a government. According to the constitution, the support of a majority, at least more than 50% of the members, is required to form a government. Legal experts say that this refers not to the number of members currently in office, but to the total number of members prescribed by law. Even if some provincial assembly members resign during elections to the House of Representatives, the number required to form a government remains more than 50% of the total membership. Although only the currently existing members are counted during the government formation process, the overall basis remains the total number of seats. Accordingly, in Kosi province, a government requires 47 seats out of the total 93. CPN UML alone has 40 seats and therefore needs 7 more seats. In Gandaki province, a government requires 31 seats out of the total 60. Nepali Congress has 27 seats, while the CPN UML has 21 seats. A minimum of 31 seats is needed to form the government. In such a situation, if Nepal Communist Party along with some other fringe parties represented in the provincial assembly can be brought together, the door will open for the formation of a majority government. Similarly, Lumbini province requires 44 out of 87 seats, Madhes province 54 out of 107, Karnali province 21 out of 40, and Sudur Paschim 27 out of 53. This shows that no single party has an outright majority in any province. Therefore, based on seat distribution, 2 or more parties must come together to form governments. At the time after the ruling, Nepali Congress and the CPN UML reached an agreement. Coalition governments of the 2 parties were formed in all 7 provinces. In Sudur Paschim province, however, the process of breaking the ruling alliance began after the ruling partners, Nepali Congress and the CPN UML, failed to reach an agreement on passing the budget. Chief Minister Kamal Bahadur Shah of the Nepali Congress dismissed 4 ministers from the CPN UML, accusing them of obstructing the passage of the budget. In response, the CPN UML also withdrew its support for the government. Following the withdrawal of support, the central leadership of the Nepali Congress has also stated that fresh negotiations will be initiated to seek a new agreement for forming provincial governments. Sabika Shrestha, NTV World.
That brings us to the closure of our issue of the day. On to the next segment now. Rising prices are putting increasing pressure on household budgets across Nepal as consumers struggle with the growing cost of everyday essentials. Despite government efforts and assurances to control inflation, markets continue to see price hikes, leaving many families questioning why relief remains out of reach. In today's cover story, we look at the reasons behind rising inflation, consumer choices, and how ordinary Nepalese are coping with the changing costs of living after this interlude. You're with the News Hour. Time now for Cover Story. Every government promises to control inflation, but for ordinary families, the cost of living keeps rising. Since mid-May, prices of essential goods in Nepal have increased significantly in many markets, while official data also shows inflation has nearly doubled compared to the same period last year. As household budgets come under growing pressure, consumers are asking, why is the market becoming more expensive despite repeated government assurances? Pawan Burshasa with Diksha Avasthi on sound brings more.
Every government pledge to keep inflation under control and protect consumers from rising prices. However, for ordinary households, the kitchen budget continues to grow heavier with each passing month. Traders say that since the past 2 months, the prices of daily necessities and other consumer goods have risen by 15 to 50%. From food items to clothing, consumers are paying notably more than they did just a few months ago. Official figures support the trend. According to a recent report released by the Nepal Rashtra Bank, Nepal's annual consumer price inflation reached 5.22% in May-June, nearly double the 2.72% recorded during the same period last year. The sharp rise in prices has hit low-income and daily wage earners the hardest, forcing many families to cut back on essential spending.
आफ्नो हिसाबले नै बढेर देखिन्छ के कति ठाउँमा अनि त्यो पनि अब सरकारले अनुगमन पनि गर्नु पर्यो अब त्यसलाई साइन्टिफिक तरिकाले कसरी हामी उपभोक्तालाई पनि अलिकति अब सबैजना त कम तिर्न सक्ने किन्न सक्ने हुँदैन नि त अलिकति निम्न स्तरको जनतालाई पनि हेरेर चाहिँ त्यो प्राइसहरु चाहिँ त्यसरी गर्दिनु होला सरकारले गर्न पर्छ के यो सबै सामानमा यतिमा बेच्ने भनेर रेट लगाइदिने हो नि नेपाल भरि
Even retail shopkeepers say they do not know why prices are increasing.
बाह्रको युद्धहरूले गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ पेट्रोल महँगो भयो भन्ने बित्तिकै मान्छेले के भन्छ बजारको भाव स्वाट बढाइदियो एउटा पेट्रोल भन्ने बित्तिकै हरेक चिजमा बढाइदियो मान्छेले त्यो पेट्रोल चाहिँ सरकारले अब यो चिज गर्दाखेरि बजारमा यस्तो भाव रहेछ भने सरकारले त्यो नियन्त्रण जो हेर्नुपर्ने अब त्यो पेट्रोल भाव चाहिँ बढ्यो भनेर बढाइदियो अनि बजार चाहिँ कसरी बढ्यो भने एकैचोटि सबै सामानमा अब 10 रुपैयाँ बढ्ने ठाउँमा 1 रुपैयाँ 2 रुपैयाँ बढ्ने ठाउँमा एकैचोटि 10 रुपैयाँ 15 रुपैयाँ बढाइदियो त्यसको नियन्त्रण कसैले गरेछ सरकारले गर्न सकेको छैन.
The government attributes the price hike largely to rising transportation costs caused by higher international petroleum prices influenced by ongoing global conflicts. As authorities point to global factors and traders blame rising wholesale costs, the burden of inflation continues to fall on ordinary Nepalis struggling to meet their daily needs.
While consumers across Nepal complain about rising prices, many continue to shop at expensive private outlets despite cheaper alternatives available through government-run stores. These state-owned shops offer essential goods at lower prices, but limited public awareness and changing shopping habits have kept many of them away from customers. Kamala Aryal reports with Diksha Avasthi on sound.
At a time when inflation is steadily draining the pockets of Nepali households, several state-owned outlets are providing daily essentials at relatively lower prices. However, many people continue to choose department stores and other so-called convenience stores over these government-run outlets. Even though government-run outlets offer the same essential goods at noticeably lower prices, consumers still seem drawn to commercial stores to stock up on their supplies. The food management and trading company sells staples such as sugar and rice at subsidized rates. However, its Thapathali warehouse in Kathmandu attracts only about 100 customers a day. This highlights a striking contradiction between consumers' complaints about rising prices and their actual shopping habits. The company operates 4 sales counters across the Kathmandu Valley, but most remain largely deserted despite offering many products at prices 10 to 15% lower than those at private retailers. Government-run outlets offer a wide range of products, including locally produced goods from across the country, such as Karnali rice, Bhojpur beans, Tarai lentils, and hill-grown coffee and tea, all at affordable prices. In recent years, the food management and trading company has expanded beyond food grains and now stocks more than 350 varieties of daily consumer products, including dairy items, soap, shampoo, and other household essentials. Customers spend above a minimum purchase amount are also eligible for free home delivery.
यति धेरै आइटमहरु थप्यौं हैन त्यसपछि र अनलाइन डेलिभरी सेवा पनि छ हैन त्यसमाबाट पनि हाम्रो राम्रै छ नराम्रो छैन राम्रै छ त्यसबाट पनि हामीले सेवा लिइराख्नु भएको छ र रैथाने आइटम्सहरु पनि हामीले प्रचुर मात्रामा छ र सबै किसिमका घरयासी प्रयोजनका सामानहरु हुँदाखेरि उपभोक्ताहरु एकदम खुसी हैन ओहो यस्तो पनि हुँदो रहेछ गर्दाखेरि त हामीलाई पनि सजिलो भएको छ भनेर आइ नै राख्नु भएको छ.
Officials say limited public awareness and the growing popularity of modern supermarkets have kept many consumers away from government-run stores. As a result, shoppers continue to pay higher prices in the private market while affordable alternatives remain underused.
In this context, we ask citizens how rising prices are affecting them. Let's hear their views in today's Public Poll segment.
सबै थोकमा महँगी छ सबै थोकमा महँगी बढ्ती छ अब सरकारी जागिर उलाई मात्र हैन सबैलाई मिल्ने गरेर मूल्य सूची बनाउनु पर्यो मिलाउनु पर्यो त्यसरी
यो झरीको कारणले भात जस्तो लाग्यो अहिले पानी परिरहेछ अब यस्तो पानी परेको बेलामा नि किसानहरु आएर यसरी आफ्नो सामानहरु बिक्री वितरण गरिरहेछ
कति गरि नि छोइ सक्नु छैन अब यस्तो अलिकति केही यो अलिक कमाइ रमाइ नहुनेहरुको त अलि गाह्रै छ के हजुर बाँच्नलाई यस्तै छ
अब नेपालको प्रोडक्ट हाई गइरहेको छ त्यो भएर महँगी बढ्यो अब यसलाई सरकारले नै गर्नुपर्छ नियन्त्रण अरू गरेर हुँदैन
यो विश्वकै अहिले महँगो भएको चाहिँ त भइहाल्यो नि विश्वकै हो नेपालको मात्रै भएदेखि त बारेला भन्न हुन्छ अहिले त राजनीति पर्छ त छैन अहिले विश्वको यो तेलको बढेको हो त्यो त केही छैन यो त हुने चिज भइरहन्छ
तेल सेल पनि त्यस्तै महँगै छ अहिले अब जे पनि महँगै छ के नियन्त्रण त सरकारले त गर्छ होला गर्न त
जति मरे नि भोकै मरे नि घटाउँदै सरकारले त यस्तै हो सरकार खाने सरकार थियो त्यो हामी त म त कहिले भोट नि हाल्दैन यत्रो वर्ष भइसक्यो यस्तै अब जनताले भोट हाल्यो मरी भोट माग्ने बेला चाहिँ आउँछन् यस्तो नमस्ते गर्छन् अनि भोट सकिसक्यो चुनाव सकिसकेपछि त जनता त केही छैन
बजार नियमनका रेगुलेटरी बडी त छन् हैन जति पहिले इफेक्टिभ रूपले हुनुपर्ने थियो त्यो भएको छैन अलिअलि त भए तर अझै बढी हुनुपर्ने थियो अब कस्तो हुन्छ हामीले चाहिँ हेर्नु छ यसमा
That was the cover story of the day. Now we move to remaining updates from National Front. A government-appointed task force has submitted its constitutional amendment debate paper to Nepal's Office of the Prime Minister and Council of Ministers after completing a nationwide consultation process. The task force, formed in March this year under the government's 100-point governance reform agenda, was mandated to build national consensus on possible constitutional amendments, including long-term political and institutional reforms and changes to the electoral system. The panel held 22 meetings, consulted 184 experts, sought feedback from 150 institutions, and received more than 44,600 public submissions from Nepalese at home and abroad. The final report includes an executive summary and categorizes public and expert recommendations into 20 thematic areas after reviewing Nepal's constitutional history, constituent assembly documents, and international practices. A brief but heavy rainfall has once again flooded several parts of Nepal's capital, Kathmandu. Areas including Maitigar, Anamnagar, Baneshwar, Thapatali and Ramshahpath were submerged after around 30 minutes of intense rain, disrupting traffic and daily movement. The heaviest rainfall was recorded in Babar Mahal with 49 millimeters of rain. Several government ministry compounds inside Singadarbar also reported water accumulation. Experts say rapid urban expansion, river encroachment and excessive concrete construction have increased Kathmandu's flood risk, with even moderate rainfall now causing widespread waterlogging. Once viewed primarily as an untapped natural resource, Nepal's hydropower is becoming one of the country's most valuable economic assets. Growing electricity export is generating billions in revenue while reshaping Nepal's role in the South Asian energy market. Sarah Sapsanamarai brings this to you.
On July 15, Nepal expanded its electricity exports once again, signing an agreement to send an additional 550 megawatts of power to India, increasing total cross-border export capacity to 1,650 megawatts. The milestone comes just a few years after Nepal began commercial power exports to India in 2021, highlighting the country's rapid emergence as a regional clean energy supplier. Electricity exports grew from 2,339 gigawatt hours in fiscal year 2021-22 to a record 3,752 gigawatt hour in the fiscal year 2023-24. Although exports declined to 1,933 gigawatt hour in the fiscal year 2024-25, largely reflecting the seasonal nature of Nepal's run-of-river hydropower system, they rebounded to 2,380 gigawatt hour the following year, generating 17.47 billion rupees in export revenue. Beyond India, Nepal has also entered the Bangladeshi market. Under a landmark trilateral power trade agreement signed in 2024, Nepal now exports 40 megawatts of electricity to Bangladesh through India's transmission network, marking one of South Asia's most significant examples of regional energy cooperation. Today, Nepal is a seasonal net exporter of electricity. During monsoon, when river flows are at their highest, the country exports around 600 to 650 megawatts of electricity each day to India and Bangladesh combined. After earning 17.47 billion rupees from power exports in the fiscal year 2024-25, Nepal reported 18.26 billion rupees in just the first 5 months of the fiscal year 2025-26, placing it on course to surpass the previous year's record.
Nepal's Ministry of Information and Communications has nominated 2 members to the Board of Directors of Public Service Broadcasting Nepal (PSBN). Urvashi Basniath and Shobita Rizal have been appointed to the board, with Basniath designated to chair meetings until a new chairperson is appointed, according to the Public Service Broadcasting Act. Information and Communications Minister Dr. Bikram Timalsina urged the PSBN leadership to uphold the legacy of Radio Nepal and Nepal Television through impartial, responsible and public-focused broadcasting. He also called for immediate reforms to strengthen the credibility, efficiency and effectiveness of state media institutions. A rogue elephant blamed for 25 deaths has been fitted with a satellite tracking collar in Chitwan National Park in Nepal, but it points to a larger issue of human-wildlife conflict. Across the country, thousands of families living alongside protected forests face regular encounters with wildlife that threaten lives, crops and property. Vijeta Bandari along with Rajendra Acharya in Chitwan brings more.
Forget about addressing the hypothetical elephant in the room. For many communities around Chitwan National Park in central Nepal, the real issue is addressing the elephant in their own backyard. After reportedly claiming 25 lives over the past 15 years, Nepal's most notorious wild elephant Thrube has once again become the focus of efforts to reduce human-elephant conflict around Chitwan National Park. After an 11-day operation, a technical team from Chitwan National Park and partner agencies darted the rogue elephant at around 10:30 Wednesday night.
2-4 दिन भित्रमै चाहिँ त्यो औषधिले काम नगर्न नि सक्छ। एउटा औषधि छ लगभग त्यसले 72 घण्टा पछि मात्रै राम्रोसँग काम गर्छ। त्यसकारणले अझ 2-3 दिन चाहिँ हामी एकदम चनाखो भएर हात्तीको मोनिटरिङ गर्न आवश्यक छ। 1.5 महिनापछि फेरि त्यो मेडिसिनको रास सकिन सक्छ हैन। सकेपछि फेरि उलाई चाहिँ त्यो मस्त चढिरहन सक्छ के हात्ती भाले हात्तीहरु वर्षमा लगभग 3-4 चोटीसम्म मस्तमा आउँछन्.
Thrube the elephant was fitted with a new satellite radio collar, had 6 inches trimmed from his tusk and was released back into the wild. The elephant will now be monitored around the clock through satellite tracking, according to the authorities. That allows the technicians to follow Thrube's movements in real time and thus warn nearby communities when the elephant approaches the settlements.
मध्यवर्ती क्षेत्रको पाहाडहरुमा गयो भने हामी कहाँ चाहिँ एउटा अलार्म भनौँ न अन्त हामीलाई नोटिफिकेसन पनि हुन्छ त्यो नोटिफिकेसन भइसकेपछि हामीले स्थानीयलाई चाहिँ नोटिफाई गर्ने सूचना दिनेदेखि लिएर हामी पनि मुख्य काम गर्छौँ र
According to the Department of National Parks and Wildlife Conservation, Nepal recorded 8,595 incidents of wildlife damaging human settlements and crops in the fiscal year 2024-25. More than half, which is 4,610 cases, involved crop damage. So Trube is only one example of a much wider problem. For many residents living around Chitwan where the elephant conflict took place, tracking alone is not the solution that they are seeking. Many say the elephant should be confined within a designated area inside the park instead of being allowed to roam freely. As human-wildlife conflict continues to rise, Nepal is introducing a new wildlife risk insurance policy from July 17. For an annual premium of 1,500 Nepali rupees, it will cover deaths, injuries, and damage to homes, livestock, and crops caused by attacks from 18 wildlife species, including elephants. The policy adds to the government's existing compensation program, which is already paying out more than 150 million rupees a year to victims of wildlife-related damage. But compensation comes after the damage is done, including lost lives and livelihoods. For now, Trube is back in the forest and under constant watch. While the radio collar may help monitor one rogue elephant, Nepal's broader challenge remains finding ways for people and wildlife to coexist more safely.
International news lined up next. For now, a quick recap of the headlines. Nepal's anti-money laundering agency files case against former Finance Minister Paudel. Authorities allege $1.36 million asset laundering link. Nepal government forms talks team to address demands of loan shark victims, approves measures for managing contract employees. Nepal's provincial governments face fresh uncertainty. Congress UML rift triggers new coalition talks. Nepal's market prices climb despite inflation control pledges. Cheaper government stores struggle to attract shoppers. Deadly orphanage fire claims 11 lives in Algeria. Authorities probe cause. And Argentina stuns England, sets up World Cup final against Spain. Ukraine's parliament has approved energy executive Sergei Koretsky as the country's new prime minister, the third since Russia's full-scale invasion began in 2022. Koretsky, the former head of state energy company Naftogaz, received parliamentary approval after lawmakers praised his management experience. Addressing the parliament, he said strengthening defense, maintaining economic stability, and advancing European Union integration would be his key priorities. The appointment follows the resignation of former Prime Minister Yulia Sviridenko. Meanwhile, protests have erupted in several Ukrainian cities following President Volodymyr Zelensky's dismissal of Defense Minister Mikhailo Fedorov. The decision has drawn criticism from some military and civil society groups. Tensions between the United States and Iran have intensified, with both sides carrying out fresh attacks as renewed hostilities enter a sixth day. Iran said it targeted U.S. military bases in neighboring Gulf countries, including locations in Jordan, Kuwait and Bahrain. The U.S. military said it launched a new wave of strikes across Iran, targeting command centers, air defense systems and coastal surveillance facilities. The exchanges followed warnings from Washington for Tehran to return to negotiations, while Iranian officials said they would not accept agreements that do not serve the country's interests. The escalating conflict has also affected the Strait of Hormuz, a key global energy route which remains closed amid the rising tensions. And now the business news.
Global investment in space startups remained near record highs in the second quarter, driven by strong investor confidence following SpaceX's landmark initial public offering valued at nearly $86 billion. The listing has expanded interest beyond traditional space-focused investors, reinforcing the sector's rise as a mainstream investment opportunity. Investors are increasingly backing companies focused on defense, national security, and in space computing amid expectations of higher government and commercial spending. Space startups secured around $7.5 billion through 141 venture funding deals during the quarter, slightly below the record $8 billion raised in the previous quarter. Meanwhile, attention is now turning to Jeff Bezos' Blue Origin, which is reportedly planning to raise around $10 billion in what could become one of the largest private fundraising rounds in the commercial space industry.
Now the sports update. The second semi-final of the FIFA World Cup 2026 was not the war in Falkland, where even the Gorkha soldiers assisted the English to win. Lionel Messi, along with his soldiers, sailed to a sensational 2-1 over the English, taking the world champion into second successive World Cup final.
With a sensational comeback victory against England, Argentina, driven by the inspiration of Lionel Messi, has advanced to the final of the FIFA World Cup 2026. In the second semi-final held at midnight on Wednesday at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium, defending champion Argentina defeated England 2-1. England took the lead in the 55th minute through a goal by winger Anthony Gordon. With just 5 minutes remaining in regulation time, midfielder Enzo Fernandez struck a long-range goal to bring Argentina back into the game. In injury time, substitute striker Lautaro Martinez scored the decisive header. Both of Argentina's goals came from Lionel Messi's assists. Argentina will face Spain in the final on Monday as per Nepal time zone. The match will kick off at 12:45 a.m. Spain and Argentina will be meeting in international football after 8 years. The last encounter between the two sides was a friendly match on March 27, 2018 in Spain, where the home team triumphed 6-1. Spain reached the final by defeating France in the first semi-final, while Argentina secured the spot by beating England on Thursday morning. In World Cup history, Spain and Argentina have met only once before, in the group stage of the 1966 World Cup in England, where Argentina won 2-1. Overall, in international football, the two countries have faced each other 14 times. Spain and Argentina have each won 6 matches, while 2 ended in draws.
Now to the weather updates, first from Nepal and then across the world. And before we wrap up, here's the reminder of our top stories. Nepal's anti-money laundering agency files case against former Finance Minister Paudel. Authorities allege $1.36 million asset laundering link. Nepal government forms talks team to address demands of loan shark victims, approves measures for managing contract employees. Nepal's provincial governments face fresh uncertainty. Congress UML rift triggers new coalition talks. Nepal's market prices climb despite inflation control pledges. A cheaper government stores struggle to attract shoppers. Deadly orphanage fire claims 11 lives in Algeria. Authorities probe cause. And Argentina stuns England, sets up World Cup final against Spain. And that's it for this edition of NTV World News Hour. Do join us through our social media and get the latest updates from our official website, nepaltelevision.com. This is me, Smita Gising Tamang, signing off. Thank you for staying with us. Good night.